Welcome to episode 41 of Central Intelligence Cinema. Today, Jason and I return to the Marvel Universe and review in full Black Widow. But without further ado, take it away, Pierce.
Beg your pardon, forgot to knock.
Welcome to the CIC, initiating security clearance.
My name is Napoleon Solo.
Bond. James Bond.
Natasha Romanoff.
Ethan Hunt. Felix Leiter.
Elsa Faust. Identity confirmed.
Now, pay attention, 007.
Welcome to Central Intelligence Cinema, a podcast dedicated to spy movies and secret agent pop culture.
Your mission, should you decide to accept it.
Do you expect me to talk?
I'm in the middle of an interrogation. This moron is giving me everything.
Yeah, baby!
Special agent, you're not having a very special day, are you?
But remember, nothing ever goes according to plan.
Tom, what do you think you're doing?
Keeping the British hand up, sir. The state will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
Recording from an undisclosed air shaft somewhere in Budapest. Budapest? Budapest. Budapest? Who the hell knows? It's the Central Intelligence Cinema Podcast. I'm Jason Greenberg, and with me, as always, Ben Esslinger.
Thank you, Jason. And welcome back to the CIC, the podcast that is giving you more Marvel than ever before.
So this is like, what, 2?
Yeah. This will probably be the only other one we ever do.
Yeah, there isn't a whole lot of spy-oriented stuff.
Right. Unless they decide to do a Nick Fury...
Well, you know, there is a thing on the horizon where he's going to be the prime candidate on one of their Disney Plus
But there's
shows.
lots of aliens in it, so...
Doesn't make it less spy just because there's aliens, Ben. They have alien spies, too. Look at the Bothans. Many of them died to get those plans.
That's true. All I'm saying is aliens didn't work out real well for Indiana Jones.
No.
That's all I'm saying.
Well, I got to be honest with you. If there's anybody that can get through aliens in a TV show, it's Samuel L. motherfucking Jackson.
Indeed. But yeah, today we're going to get into a movie that I would almost argue was more Bondian than the last James Bond movie.
This movie is so James Bond, and I have a list of things to prove that.
A list.
I hate the list, but I've got them because I know you Bond people need a list.
Indeed. We are going to be reviewing Black Widow.
Woohoo!
I'm very excited about this.
I am too. Any chance I get to squeeze a little bit of my other happy place into our podcast here,
yes.
I'm rare and ready to go.
Yes. Well, should we get right into this?
Let's do it.
Before I was an Avenger, I made mistakes. And a lot of enemies. I should have come back for you. How many others are there? Enough. We have to go back to where it all started. So they never do that to anyone again. At some point, we all have to choose between what the world wants you to be and who you are. I made my choice.
Okay, Black Widow, originally intended to release on May 1st of 2020, then intended to release November 6th, then May 7th, until finally, on July 9th of 2021, it was finally released.
Do we know why the movie kept getting pushed back?
People kept getting sick or something. I don't know.
Was there some kind of an event or something?
Some kind of mass event where lots of people were getting sick. I forget what those are called. I don't know. Something like that.
I won't say it was exactly worth waiting for, but I wasn't disappointed when it finally came out.
Well, here's the thing that I will say about it. I think that this movie would have been friggin' huge if it would have been released during the time that it had been intended.
Correct. I agree.
I think that if they had released it while all the Marvel heyday was going on, and it was timed correctly, this movie would have blown up as far as I'm concerned. That's what I think.
I agree, because it's basically Scarlett Johansson's swan song, and she was coming off of Endgame 2 years prior.
Yeah.
No, it definitely missed its window, and boy, did she make Disney pay for that.
Oh, indeed. But it's directed by Kate Shortland, who directed Smilf, which I have not seen, but apparently is a show that exists, as well as a handful of lesser known movies and TV stuff. And she doesn't have a whole lot on the horizon as far as I can see just yet.
Well, there's no more Black Widow movies to
There's
make.
no more Black
She's
Widow.
dead.
Well, unless they move
I
forward.
guess you can move
if they do
forward
the
too.
Yelena thing.
Yeah,
you know.
but they're sticking her in Thunderbolts, so who knows what's going to happen with that.
As far as writing goes, Eric Pearson has a screenplay credit. He wrote Thor, Ragnarok, Agent Carter, and Godzilla vs. Kong.
All relevant movies.
Indeed.
Especially Godzilla vs. Kong. I mean,
Right.
That's all over the place in this thing.
Jack Schaefer, who has a story credit, he did WandaVision and The Hustle. And Ned Benson, who did The Disappearance of Eleanor Rigby. Basically, it's a full-on Marvel story. So
Yeah, well, is it though?
Well, it's like you said off the episode that it's bookended by Marvel, but it's mostly a spy movie.
That's what I'm saying. You could take the Marvel elements out of it, and you could still just make it a Russian spy person goes over to the U.S. kind of thriller with ridiculous action set pieces.
Indeed.
Like, I do think Mission Impossible.
True. I think
Disavowed Agents, anyone?
Yes, indeed. I think it went full Marvel in the final act.
It had to. It really had to.
Yeah. But still, very much a spy movie. Director of photography. Now, I got to say, especially going back and watching this thing for the podcast, I was really impressed with photography. The more I watched it, especially the first 2/3 of the movie, once it gets into all the CG stuff in the final act, it's sort of whatever. But especially the first act, man, there is some gorgeous photography.
Oh, absolutely. In Norway. And
the Norway shots are so nice. But that was Gabriel Beristain, who is entrenched in Marvel stuff. He did Iron Man, Guardians, Thor Ragnarok. He was cinematographer for Agent Carter and MacGyver, the new series.
Which, everybody should have good cinematography on MacGyver.
That's right? Exactly. By the numbers, the budget for this movie was $200 million. Domestic box office was $183.6 million. International was $196 million. So the worldwide total was $379.7 million. And this does not take into account the lawsuit that ScarJo filed against Disney, which claimed that the simultaneous streaming and theatrical release of Black Widow broke her contract and affected her salary, which her lawsuit said was based in large part on box office performance. So kind of the Tom Cruise business model.
The RDJ.
And the RDJ. So no official amount was given, but a source gave Deadline the figure in the realm of $40 million that she got out of that agreement.
But that whole thing was huge.
Yeah.
Because it's going to set the bar for negotiations for everybody. Everybody in Hollywood's got a pandemic clause now.
Yeah.
If they're renegotiating contracts.
Oh, yeah.
If force majeure, that's what we call it in my civilian identity. And act of God, man, you have to be compensated or not responsible or whatever else.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm glad she did it. It kind of soured her relationship, I'm sure, with Disney. Mm-hmm. But it's going to help so many other performers.
Absolutely.
Not that all of them are hurting. I get it. I hear all of you out there complaining, millionaires aren't getting more millions. Okay, but anybody...
Some of the ones that aren't getting millions and millions,
it's more about creative.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, there's plenty of people out there doing creative work that aren't making millions of dollars, right? And when they get chinched out of whatever they're trying to make.
Right.
That's a real travesty. Yeah. She didn't get any money. Was she going to survive? Yeah, she's going to survive. Yeah. But by the same token, if you're just Joe Blow graphic designer out there.
Right.
And somebody reneges on a contract with you or
VFX
something like that.
artist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're getting hosed.
And those people, VFX artists are already getting hosed.
Right.
So to get hosed again over something like this.
Film editors too.
Yeah. Don't get me started. I'm looking at USNL. Anyway, moving right along from that, a little too close to home. Music. As far as music discussion, Lauren Balfe handled the score, which I thought it was fine. It wasn't like amazing, but it wasn't bad either. And to be honest, I'm not sure whether it was the actual Lauren Balfe or whether it was part of the Lauren Balfe Hans Zimmer
collective
music
collective.
Yes. So either way, I enjoyed it. It was fine. Getting into the Bond girls and Bond guys and what have you. We have, of course, Natasha Romanoff, aka the Black Widow. Scarlett Johansson, of course, is back once again, and once again, I thought she was pretty fantastic.
Yeah, she's been doing that damn role for 10 years. I think
If she
she's
doesn't
got
know how to-
Natasha dialed in at this point.
Right. If she doesn't know how to do it now.
She plays it with a level of nonchalant sarcasm
Yes.
that is so well paired with Florence Pugh's direct in your face sarcasm.
Right. It is funny, though. She has gotten more mature, though, she's not because when we visited Captain America Winter Soldier, she was much more like Yelena almost.
Yeah, she's very sardonic and kind of like the jaded one because Steve Rogers' character was the light and hope, whereas she's kind of turned into the light and hope character by the time she gets there.
Exactly. The roles have sort of switched a little bit.
It's kind of an interesting book in there, right?
Yeah. And as a pivot here, exactly, Yelena Belova, played by Florence Pugh, who I think was the best actor in the movie.
Oh, absolutely.
I think she outacted everybody else. Every scene that she's in, she commands the attention more than anybody else.
Absolutely. Well, it's because, again, good, consistent character portrayal. She never stops being the character that she is, but she's sarcastically over the top.
Yes.
She's basically you in this movie. That's she's the viewer.
Yeah.
She's your avatar in this film.
Right.
Because she's looking at it the lens like, you people actually do this all the time?
Right.
With the whole thing with the
posing.
She's such a poser.
By the way, did you know that posing thing got started because in real life, Florence Pugh was giving Scarlett Johansson a hard time about that.
That's fantastic.
And that they worked it into the script that way.
They totally should because everybody does it.
Yeah. It's like nobody does. Who does this? Who poses like this? What does this serve? But anyway, also we've got Rachel Weisz playing Melina Vostokov. Good Lord, does this woman age?
She doesn't.
She's just still absolutely.
Ever since she hung out with Keanu Reeves in Constantine, whatever he was taking,
right?
I'm pretty sure he gave to her,
right? And now neither one of them aged.
They both have pictures aging for them in the attic.
Exactly.
Ask your English professor, kids.
But she's pretty fantastic. I think she pulls it off. She's convincing as the scientist, the sort of tragic. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, she was one of the first people to come out of the Red Room, I think is what they were alluding to.
Yeah.
The thing that I didn't get, she kind of played the daffy scientist kind of feel at the beginning. She wasn't. She seemed more like I'm a spy. I'm in control.
Right.
Then she kind of turned into like the daffy agent kind of, or daffy scientist kind of thing.
Especially during the escape from Red Room.
Yeah, I just kept expecting her to like click a switch and be like, okay, now I'm back to being badass spy girl, and she never actually did.
Well, and I wondered, though, too, if some of that has to do with the dialogue that they...
That's true.
It felt a little like they punched up her dialogue at the end to make her more likable or something.
Yeah, maybe.
Since she had been essentially a kind of a bad guy role.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the movie, she basically just becomes moving exposition.
Yeah.
And I'm keeping the program going by doing things that one of the other characters could do, but people want to look at their butts more than they want to look at my butt. So we're just going to have me doing that stuff.
Right, exactly. We've also got Alexei Shostakov, played by David Harbour. I mean, a.k.a. the Red, what is it? Red Guardian?
Red Guardian.
Oh my goodness!
Not to be confused with the Crimson Dynamo.
That's right.
That's Iron Man.
Not the Crimson Dynamo.
That's Iron Man's Russian counterpart there,
which plays in really well later on in the.
Yeah, I was maybe one of 3 people in the theater, in the theater. I think I saw it in the theater when it came out. Did I see it in the theater when it came out?
I don't know. You didn't see it with me. I saw it at home.
They released it in the theater, right?
I paid the extra 20 or 40 quid
I
or
went to see it in the
whatever it
theater.
was.
I remember I went to see it in the theater because I'm like, I need to support Marvel movies. They're never going to make any money unless I show up. I remember being the only person, maybe of 2 people that laughed at that joke, and I'm like,
right, nerd, you got it.
We had nerd cred.
But man, David Harbour is just a national damn treasure.
Mm-hmm.
He is just so funny. Now, I will say it is weird the flip though, because he's not the funny, silly Russian guy at the beginning in the pre-title. He is very much just, a serious,
straightforward Russian agent.
Embedded agent, doing his thing. And then suddenly the the switch just completely flips when we get to the prison breakout
well, being
scene.
stuck in a Russian prison for
That'll
20
drive you
some odd
mad.
will drive you crazy. Also, I just want to address with everybody out here, this is not David Harbour's character from Stranger Things.
Yes.
Even if the time frame does kind of gel up.
Well, I mean,
but he, if you watch Stranger Things, you know
Yes.
that Hopper gets away. Spoiler alert.
yeah. I read that he had to first put on weight to play the majority of the movie.
Right.
And then he had to lose 60 pounds to play his same self, but in the pre-title sequence.
Right.
So they shot all the big scenes with him first, and then he lost the weight, and then they did the...
You'd think they would have just saved the effort and done it the other direction.
I know, right? It's so much easier to gain weight. Anyway. Anyway, so then we've got Mason, or Rick Mason, which is so funny, because did you know I had this is so random, but I had a boss many lifetimes ago who was named Rick Mason.
Did you?
Yeah. Anyway, so we've got Mason, played by O.T. Fagbenley. He's just the guy that gets stuff for Natasha. He's the closest thing to a Q, but it's if Q had a huge crush on James Bond.
Yeah, it's a little weird. Also,
I think they have really good chemistry.
They do have good chemistry, and I'm really glad that he was able to get out of Canada, got his wife out of Gilead, and is now helping the rest of the world out.
Right.
It's good stuff.
I kind of liked him as a character. He's likable.
He's likable, and I'm sad that we probably don't get to see this guy again. Although
Probably never.
I'm hoping he comes back for whatever.
Whenever we see Yelena again.
Yeah, whenever we see Yelena again, because the character's just, it serves the same purpose as Q, but he also is kind of a Felix Leiter. It's like a combo character, a composite character.
Yeah.
And he kind of humanizes that portion of it too. Because, I mean, the Natasha you get at the beginning of the movie, I think seems less Natasha-y because she's got this guy to interact with who's more or less kind of normal. He doesn't have a normal job, but he's a normal dude.
Right.
And these characters need to have that normal person
right
to balance them off to be successful. Iron Man has Pepper.
Right.
Steve has...
You need the audience presence.
Exactly.
About like reacting to whatever the superhuman is doing.
Right. Which is why the comics are littered, or I could say peppered, with with those types of characters, like a Rick Jones or a Snapper Carr. These were like the little teenage kid that anchored all the superhero teams,
right?
Like that. So
yeah. And then we've got Dreykov, played by Ray Winstone.
Oh no, I looked better in Crystal Skull. I'm just gonna say it.
I don't know how I feel about this guy, and I don't know if it's his performance or just how they wrote for him. He's one of my least favorite characters in the movie. You know, obviously he's supposed to be at least favored because he's the villain, but he also doesn't play it in a way that I would. I don't know. I was hoping for something with a little more
gravitas.
Yeah.
He just kind of feels like, let's get a really high quality actor to play a Russian thug.
Yeah.
Who has some power.
Yeah. And it felt very one note to me.
It did. And maybe, I don't know. Part of that I think helped accentuate Johansson's performance later on in the film.
Yeah. Because
she got to be herself.
She got to be more the Captain America Winter Soldier version of her.
Right, towards the end.
Towards the end there.
And I mean, you get an actor like Tom Hiddleston.
Yes.
Who she's playing basically, it's that same role at the end, right?
Right.
But he could be smarmy and an asshole quietly enough that she could shine.
Sure.
I think Ray Winstone, I've seen him. His thing is usually to kind of go big.
Yeah.
And so there's probably some direction. Ray,
and
tone it down a little bit.
He dialed it way back.
He really did.
So then we've got
Bond Girl.
A Bond Girl, yes. Antonia / the Taskmaster, played by Olga Kurilenko.
Say that 3 times.
Yeah, no kidding. Who, we rarely get to see her face. And when we do see her face, she's covered in all sorts of...
kind of mangled, but...
Yeah. But she didn't have a whole lot to work with as far as, her scene at the end where she actually gets to act
right.
was good.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, you look at it and you're like, I know on my second watching again this time around, I'm like, where is she in the suit? Where is she not in the suit?
Right.
Because I don't know if they had her trying to walk more masculine or they had somebody masculine trying to walk more feminine. But I could never, and it's entirely possible none of the scenes without her face showing were not her. I don't know.
Yeah.
They did have somebody that kind of pulled off both.
Yeah, because the Taskmaster isn't overly masculine.
No.
With the helmet on, like fighting and everything. The character's very limber.
Right.
In as far as movement.
Right.
And that sort of thing.
But I mean, it wasn't overtly a dude doing stunt work, I guess.
Right. Yeah,
saying.
it wasn't obvious that it was just a dude in a suit doing all the work for her. I did also write down here on my notes, young Natasha played by Ever Anderson.
Spot on.
Spot on. By the way, do you know who Ever Anderson is the daughter of?
I'm going to guess somebody whose last name is Anderson.
Actually, its last name is Jovovich.
Oh, I did know that.
That's
Mila Jovovich, but her dad's is Paul S. Anderson, so shut up.
There we go. But what a perfect casting.
I know.
What a perfect casting.
In fact, the only thing she would probably be better cast as is a young person in Resident Evil.
Exactly. I can't imagine why.
She could be little Leeloo Dallas Multipass. No, but I don't know. When I watched it the first time, it's like, how the hell did they get somebody that perfect to play Scarlett Johansson?
She's great in it. She has enough depth to what she's emoting.
Right.
It's not just a child actor to me. Like, I'm watching this and there are things going on. She's able to get out, to the viewer that there are things going on in her head.
Yes.
And she knows what's about to happen.
When he's like, we got to go. Yeah. Instantly, you could see in her eyes, like, oh shit, is this happening?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
that look of like terror, like, oh, here we go again.
But then she, in the plane, super competent.
Yeah.
Right. She's terrified, but mom says I need to do this. So I guess I'm flying this fucking plane.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
No second thoughts.
Yeah.
And she get there in Cuba and she pulls out the gun and all that stuff. I'm just like, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, 3 times wow. This is amazing.
Yeah. She's really good. I did think that Violet McGraw playing young Yelena, try saying young Yelena 3 times fast. I thought she did really well also, although, I mean, Ever Anderson just steals the show. But as far as kid actors go, I mean, she was great.
They had a good chemistry together.
They did.
You really needed that to sell the sisters thing in the middle and end parts of the film.
Exactly. All right, well, that takes care of the formalities. Should we get into the meat and potatoes of this sucker?
Let's do it.
Okay, so the pre-title sequence, we open on 1995 in Ohio. I'm in Ohio.
Ohio.
Hi, we're in Ohio. We see young Natasha and Yelena playing. Well, Natasha's riding her bike down the street. It's very suburban-y.
Very Spielberg-y kind of E.T. feel to it.
Yeah. It's a little interesting that Natasha has already got dyed blue hair at age, what was she, like 9 or 10 or something?
I think she was like 10 or 11 at that point. 11? Yeah.
It's a little early, but I'll allow it. It's the 90s.
I like that it's also a 10-year-old girl who doesn't want to maintain it.
Right. You've got roots and
all of her red hair is coming out normal. Yeah.
I did find, now I will say about this, making the period 1995, it felt more 80s than it felt 90s. I felt like
it really did.
And I feel like this is what happens sometimes when millennials depict the 80s.
Yeah, they confuse
or they depict the 80s or they depict the 90s and they depict everything as the 80s and not because the 90s were not the way that.
Well, so I will counterpoint with this one.
Okay.
We think of what the 90s are not only based on our own experiences, but by what the culture determined the 90s to be 20 years later, right?
That's true.
The reality is most people living in 1995 were living in 1975 houses. They were wearing 1985 to 1990 clothing.
Fair enough.
Right.
Fair enough.
So one of the things I always think about period pieces and it throws me off when I see an 80s thing that's all 80s.
It looks very 70s.
It looks because a lot of times, like you said, they'll try and cram every 80s trope into it.
That's true, because I remember when we were doing Atomic Blonde, and a lot of the 80s stuff looked way too late 80s for me.
Right, considering the time frame that it was in.
Exactly.
But you will see it in good period pieces.
They'll get it more correct.
I read somewhere that to get an accurate feel of what the decade actually looked like, look at your grandma's house. Because that was new when your grandma started. But it carried on, and most of the people that were living in your age bracket were living in the stuff that your grandparents built.
Right.
Right? So there's a truth to that. But yeah, overall, particularly when they get in the house, none of that felt very 90s at all.
No.
but
Felt very 80s to me.
but also could be somebody actually living in the 90s.
But living in the 90s in an 80s house.
Right.
It happens all the time.
And, what are Russian agents going to know? They're going to think, this is capitalist at its finest.
Exactly.
Everyone is wearing the big padded shoulders and the pussy hair. It's the pussy hair, yes? No, it's not pussy hair.
So getting back to the story here. We see Yelena, she hurts herself, skins her knee or whatever, and mom, quote unquote mom, Melina swoops in and kind of consoles her and tends to the wound, and then she schools them both on bioluminescence in the fireflies, because of course she's a scientist.
Of course she is.
They're trying to put that little kernel of
So you
implant that.
It'll pay off later, I think, is what we're trying to say.
Exactly. Anyway, later they're at home, and then Dad, in air quotes, Alexei gets home, and holy bad wig, Batman.
Right?
That wig is whew, that's quite a wig.
Somebody had to put some effort into that, let me tell you.
Yeah.
It's a wig that Sean Connery would be proud of.
He probably would have paid more than $10 for it.
At least 11.
That's right. So he tells the kids it's big adventure time, and that's when we do, like you mentioned before, we get that look on Natasha's face, young Natasha's face, of just panic and just almost dread, because she knows what's coming. Meanwhile, Yelena doesn't know anything.
No.
She's just like, yay, we're going, and then they're in the car and they're going home. Mm-hmm. And of course, Yelena doesn't understand, and she's like, but we just left home, and all that.
Right.
Oh, and I failed to mention, as they're packing up the car to leave, we see a very important 3.5-inch floppy disk that is taken.
The whole crux of this whole pre-title sequence.
The whole.
I got it.
That's right.
The only company that isn't burning in ashes, or something to that effect.
Yeah, something silly like that. So they before they leave, they grab the disc, and then they grab all their hidden guns in the house.
Right.
And I love how Yelena is like helping grab bullets and shit off the floor.
But Daddy,
Here you go, Dad.
But Daddy, I'm hungry. Don't worry, I've got fruit roll-ups in the car.
Yeah. Thanks, Dad.
Well, come on. For a 6-year-old, that's like, yeah.
I suppose so. So yeah, they head out, and they are being told they're going home. And then we get that whole American Pie song.
Play my song, Daddy.
So they play American Pie, which is very fitting, because it says in the song, "This is the day that I die," which is quite apropos considering what's about to happen to these girls. So they get to the airplane hangar, and the girls and Melina get into the plane, and Melina starts to get it going. And then we get our first hint that Dad is a bit more than just Dad, as he lifts with no trouble whatsoever this giant trash dumpster, just flips it out of the way.
Yep. And I got to say something. It's a Marvel thing, but sometimes they're so good at subtly showing superpowers.
Yeah.
And in this movie, there's a lot of it.
Yeah. They did a good job of not superheroing it up.
Right.
Instead, they just almost casually show that he just sort of flips it. They don't make a big deal out of it. It's not
and he doesn't repeat it throughout the entire sequence.
Right.
That's really the only superheroic strengthy thing he does.
Yeah. So nice. So then she starts to get it going, but that's when we see a team of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents arrive in a bunch of SUVs or whatever SUVs were in the 90s. I'm trying to think, like Broncos.
Those would have been in the 90s.
Or Land Rovers.
They were either full-size Blazers, if they were still calling them Blazers.
Chevy Blazers.
Or they were full. They I don't know if they switched to Tahoe in 95.
Right.
But there was a switch over, same thing.
So there's a bit of gunfire going on between Alexei and the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents as Melina is navigating the plane to the runway. And then Alexei runs after the plane, eventually jumping on the wing, where he then sort of turns back around while he's laying on the wing, and he's shooting at the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents while they're trying to get going.
Felt very Indiana Jonesy.
It was a little bit Indiana Jonesy, actually, yeah. During all this, Melina gets shot in the crossfire, and so Natasha immediately has to move up, and that's when we get that great moment, like you said, where Natasha sort of has to put on her big girl pants and get this plane moving and essentially make the plane take off.
Right.
So Melina tells her to hit the gas, and meanwhile, Alexei is still on the wing, where he eventually hits one of the truck tires, and then that truck spins into the other one, sending both of them toppling. So at this point, Natasha is pressured to gun it as hard as she can and then pull it up, and get out of the way, before they hit the trucks or whatever. And they do.
And somehow managed to fly that single engine prop plane from Ohio
all
to Cuba.
To Cuba with Alexei on the wing.
Apparently. Well, one would hope they landed somewhere to refuel because they had to.
You would have to. All we know is that we cut to daybreak and we see them land in Cuba, where Melina is immediately given medical attention. Meanwhile, we see Alexei meet with a much younger Dreykov, and he gives him the disc. Ooh, this.
When do I get to get back into the action?
Yeah, exactly. He wants to get back into his bright red suit and be the Red Guardian all over again. All that sort of thing. And then in the meantime, the girls are, kind of crying over their mom. They're all, worried about their mom. And then the guards kind of try and shoo them away as they take Melina away. And then that's when I really like this moment where Natasha is just like, fuck this. Like, I don't want any part of this.
Well, she knows where she's going.
She knows where she's going. That's when Yelena tries to run after her dad to be like, where's mom going or whatever. And the soldier holds her back. And then Natasha runs after that soldier, takes his gun away from him and kicks him off of Yelena or whatever. And then we have the standoff,
right,
which is amazing. And she starts shouting in Russian, back off, I will kill any one of you or whatever.
Which I'm going to say, I suspect she may have learned that, maybe speaks that already from her mom.
That's one of the reasons why they cast her.
Okay, because I'm saying, man, she was just like, vlabada. Sorry, any Russian listeners, I don't speak Russian. But, I mean, she rattled it off like a native speaker, so.
Yeah, that's part of the reason. And I read that in the trivia why. Part of the reason was she spoke fluent Russian. So that kid was
basically genetically designed to be Scarlett Johansson's younger self.
Exactly. So eventually Alexei kind of talks her down and is like, honey,
needle to the neck.
Yeah, exactly. Needle to the neck. They're tranked out.
And can I just say, honorable mention to the Russian soldier that knocks them out and then throws Natasha over his shoulder. That guy was straight out of Central Casting. I think I've seen that guy play a Russian soldier in like 85 movies with Russian soldiers. That's all that. If he didn't have a speaking line, so I don't know. You'd have to really deep dive an IMDb for him.
Right.
But I bet you if you look at all of his movie roles,
right,
90% of them are Russian major, Russian sergeant. I am almost certain. I meant to check this and I just remembered this. I think he's the Russian colonel in Crystal Skull.
Oh, really?
The guy that plays the American colonel that's the Russian colonel?
Well, that would check out.
So while you talk, I'm going to check and see if that's true.
But yeah, well, right before they get tranked, actually, Dad sort of gives the girls a pep talk, like, you guys are going to be okay. You guys just stick together. You're my tough girls, yada, yada, yada. And then before they can do anything about it, they're tranquilized and taken away in a truck. And then cue a Nirvana cover, which I am not...
It's so sad because it's sad shit now on the screen. Oh, shit, wow. Yeah, I'm kind of with you.
I felt like it was overdone. It wasn't even based on the lyrics. Listen, I grew up in the early 90s, and I listened to a lot of Nirvana.
What did your house look like in the early 90s, Ben? Did it look more like an 80s house?
Probably.
Okay.
But all I'm going to say is those lyrics do not match what is going on screen. Like, those are two different things. Those are not parallel lines going.
Fair enough.
So,
well,
and you're right. Just tonally, it seems way too dour. Yes, there are terrible things happening to these girls. They're all, being shoved in trucks and manipulated and tortured and being trained and brainwashed and all these horrible things, which I do like. That's the other thing about this whole thing is that I actually really like this title sequence because I'm a big fan of movies that use the title sequence as a way to propel the plot forward.
Exactly, and there's a lot of shit in that particular title sequence that you kind of need to do. Right.
It helps get you all that exposition without having to spend a ton of time on it. You just get this very well-crafted montage while the credits are going. It's just the music that's just a little too much
I
for
think
me.
they were trying to sell a James Bond song. in the 90s.
Yes.
Because it really had that kind of feel.
Yeah,
like
the way that cover of it is very...
Right.
Yeah.
And I almost wish they chose... We'll get to this at the end of the show, kids, but I wish they chosen something maybe a little more Bondy, or maybe wrote their own theme song for it.
Indeed.
At the beginning, you know.
Given all
Black Widow, she's a hero. You know, whatever else.
Given all the Bondian...
I'm just saying.
There are so many notes of Bond in this movie. Holy cow.
The things that you see in this title sequence with... You see things that have been implied but never really spelled out through the rest of the Avengers series.
Right.
Genetic enhancements. That's why she can do so many of the things she can do.
That's why she's stronger. That's why she can take so much punishment.
And they don't say it in there, but there's the allusion to the Winter Soldier program that came before it.
Right.
That comes later on in Expedition Elsewhere. But, you know, everybody's kind of like, how could someone like Scarlett Johansson take down a dude like that?
Right.
Because she is not normal. She's basically a super soldier light.
Yeah, she's Steve Rogers light.
Right. So the Russians had that program going. Everybody had that program going. It's where the Hulk came from in the MCU. But all of these people have these superpowers because of stuff. That's what Falcon and Winter Soldier was all about.
Right.
Was that. So I like that they did that finally to explain how could she be such a badass and be this teeny tiny little person on top of it.
Because you always hear, stupid shit online about, this, that, and the other about Black Widow, hanging out with Captain America and a god, Thor, the god of thunder and yada, yada, yada. So this is a nice, helpful thing to sort of strengthen, why she is the badass that she is. That she's not just some chick that's highly trained. She's been modified.
Right.
She's been
enhanced. They go through the effort of showing half the people that die.
Yeah.
So that you get the true sinister nature of
just how awful, what a monster Dreykov is.
Right.
So in that respect, I love this credit sequence. It's probably the best that I've seen of it done since we watched Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Sure.
Like Man from U.N.C.L.E. has a really good one of those too.
It absolutely does.
So then we get into the meat of it here, the Act 1. And we now cut to 21 years later. And to tie this all into the Marvel Comics universe... That is the MCU. It's so funny to say it.
Universe.
It's so weird to say it out loud because I always think of the movies when people say MCU.
Anyway. Right.
Anyway, we begin with Natasha being on the run after violating the Sokovia Accords.
Which, by the way, for those of you who are keeping track of timelines, this takes place after Captain Marvel Civil War, but before Avengers Infinity War.
Yes. And I would have never known that because,
That's what I'm here for.
I like all the Captain America-y stuff, and I watch it all, but I would never be able to figure all that stuff out. So.
Believe me, if there was a podcast that had two idiots discussing absolutely nothing that was focused around superhero movies and superhero pop culture, we would be the guys doing it.
Exactly.
One of us would have more talky stuff than the other usually does.
That's right. That's right. But I will say I really love this scene. It's a very, very spy crafty scene. It's sneaky Black Widow.
Right.
So I like it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it makes me wish for a movie where she's constantly on the run. Like I would love a Black Widow standalone movie where she's just kind of on the run from people.
Right.
And she's figuring things out about why she's being on the run the whole time. Like kind of the way the Bourne movie is where he's constantly being pursued. I would love a movie like that, but with Black Widow. Like that would be an awesome spy movie.
The two best turns that she's had, I think, maybe not from an acting standpoint, because I think her stuff in Infinity War and in Endgame was pretty solid acting work.
Yeah.
But as far as the character goes, the best movies that she's been in are Winter Soldier and this one.
Right.
Where she's on the run. She's a disavowed spy.
Yeah.
When you disavow her, she basically turns into Ethan Hunt, but much better looking and far less robot.
Yes.
So, which isn't to say that Tom Cruise isn't good looking. I think we can all admit he is, but we all know he is a robot.
You can actually empathize with her.
Yes. Whereas with him, you're like, really?
You're just a robot.
I bet you she can't hold her breath for 6 minutes.
This is a simulation of emotion.
Could you imagine that movie, though? Tom Cruise, Scarlett Johansson, on the run from somebody.
That would be something else.
Holy cow.
Holy smokes. But I digress. So we see her, and she's in a bathroom somewhere. Always a bathroom.
At least there's no fight in this
There's
bathroom.
no fight in this bathroom. There's no bathroom fight scene in this movie, Jason.
Which could be one of the reasons why I like it.
So she's splashing some water on her face. She's clearly been she's had a rough day.
She's a little harried.
And she looks at her phone that's been broadcasting some surveillance video of troops that one would assume are outside the building she's in. And then we cut to General Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross.
Absolutely.
Played by William Hurt and his men.
Rest in peace, William Hurt.
Indeed. And they're closing in on the building that they think she's located in. And Natasha calls Ross, and he assumes she's trying to cut a deal. And they're just kind of going back and forth.
Yes, banter. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. He tries to talk her into bringing herself in, but she's not having it at all. Also, she's not there.
Psych!
So, because when we see her leave the bathroom, we realize that she's on this ferry boat far, far away from the building where Ross is.
Right.
And then she dumps her phone into the river, and she's
free.
She's free.
Freedom.
Exactly.
Freedom.
So that's that little bit. And then we cut to Morocco, where we see Yelena on the top of a building with a sniper rifle, and she's got her eyes on this target through a window, along with one of the other Black Widows. Are they all called Black Widow? Or are they just called Widows?
Well, I think you would just call them Widow to speed things up a little bit, but they're all technically Black Widows.
Yes. So we see through the binoculars a case which holds stuff.
Things.
But then, as Yelena is watching through her sight, somehow this person that's in the building sees Yelena, and she takes off. And so Yelena has to pursue this girl who's named Oksana. We find out later. She pursues her on foot, and I do love the run down the building thing with the rappel cable.
Yep.
Very Jinx / Wei Lin.
Right.
So there's your first big Bond reference right there. Then we see Oksana, and she's like in an alleyway, and she's you can tell she's just kind of figuring out where she's going to go next. And suddenly this car comes out of nowhere and hits her. And then also kind of out of nowhere, there's a door, and Yelena pops out of it. And that's when we get this fight. And the two fight basically until Yelena stabs Oksana in the gut and twists it. Very lethal, like very just cold.
And for all of you comic book nerds out there, using the patented Winter Soldier knife drop from one hand to the other to get her on there.
Yes.
It's kind of tying that together a little bit more.
Yeah, the fighting methodology.
Because Natasha throws that move in later on as well.
Yeah, very cool move. But before dying completely, she sprays Yelena in the face with the red gas that breaks Yelena free from the mind control.
The ruby slipper gas, you mean? It's so sparkly.
The ruby slipper gas. We should just call it that for the rest of the...
I will be. Whether you want to join in, that's entirely up to you.
I'm on board with that. So now Yelena's free from the mind control, and in her dying moments, Oksana tells Yelena to, quote, free the others. So we see inside the case several vials of this red gas, or the ruby slipper gas.
Rubber slippy dust. Wow. Rubber baby buggy bumpers. Ruby slipper dust.
Whew. That's a tough one.
I'm going to have to alliterate.
Yeah. Yelena, who's now lucid, quickly cuts into her leg to remove her tracker.
It's so ballsy, too. It's a baller. It's just plink. No problem.
Yeah. So her fellow agent is already on the comm asking for a status update and literally waits seconds before she's like, oh, we have to get her now.
Right.
Like there's no wait time. There's no, God forbid she's in a bathroom or needs some privacy for just a half a second. Oh no, you're now an enemy. We're now getting your ass.
It's a good way to demonstrate that they are definitely not doing the thinking for themselves.
Yes, very much so. At this point, the other agent is commanding the other field agents to converge on Yelena. She also immediately communicates it back to Dreykov that Yelena is now a deserter. And then we get a quick cut inside Red Room where we see the Taskmaster and one of the other agents is assisting her, telling her to smile, which is so weird. I'm not even sure why that cut is there, because it literally is on the screen for 10 seconds. Like they're just adjusting her helmet or whatever. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they're just trying to put it in your mind that this is a character that exists that you're going to see soon. I think that's about all.
I don't know. Maybe it's just
who knows.
Yeah,
maybe they needed to cover up something so they could move to the next segment of the story.
Maybe there was a thing about the real Taskmaster who actually has a skull for his mask, and it doesn't look this Scully. But if it was a skull, it would smile. Right.
Well, it did feel like it was trying to be a joke.
Yeah,
and it just kind of doesn't. So it doesn't entirely land.
Sometimes you get some poorly landed Marvel references in a Marvel movie. It just happens.
So then we cut back to Natasha, who is in Norway. And
you know how she's in Norway? Because there's a gigantic banner that pops up that says, Norway. Boom.
Yeah. They love big.
Ever since Winter Soldier.
I know.
That's been their shtick.
Big, giant text on the screen that tells you where it's at. And it followed in The Gray Man, too.
It did.
Giant text on the screen.
So we know where it came from, right?
Yeah, it came from the Russo brothers.
It's the Russo brothers.
They're big fans of that. She's in Norway, because how could you not miss that?
That's right.
I will say this driving footage with all the lush just greens and
I know. The misty mountains.
Whew, it's really nice footage.
It's cinematographer's paradise out there.
Yeah. And honestly, I'm just going to say it. I feel like it might be better than that Scotland footage in Skyfall. Maybe.
Well, yeah, because there's more.
It's more
green.
Yeah, there's more contrast.
There's more contrast, absolutely.
Yeah.
Much more atmospheric perspective.
Yeah.
You got to think, because Scotland is Scotland.
Yeah.
It's its own kind of beautiful.
Right.
But it's not Norway beautiful.
Yeah. Anyway, she's in the car, and of course we hear on the radio, this is very Marvel-y. The fact that as soon as you get in the car with her, we hear on the radio that Steve Rogers and Natasha Romanoff are still on the run. So we see her cautiously come up to this trailer that's parked in the middle of the woods, kind of in a clearing. And then she's got her gun out, kind of cautiously, seeing what this is all about. And once inside, this is where we get, okay, so I have this in my notes, and I'm just going to say it because this is a thing that I don't know if it's Russo brothers. Well, it can't be, because this is a different director. Mm-hmm. This is just a Marvel thing, but the gratuitous ass shots of Scarlett Johansson do not end. And they don't end.
They don't, and there's more than a few focuses on just under the chin and above the ribs, if you guys know what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, I was like, wow, still?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
But then again, this was shot, back in like 2019 or 2018 or something.
It's not even a date thing.
It's
you go all the way back to Iron Man 2 where she started.
Well, that's what I'm saying is that it's really like they really do it up in Iron Man. But half of her shots are of her ass in Iron Man.
But there's a sexualization of Black Widow's character that is essential to the character.
I suppose
that is not of all the other female characters. And so there still are shots like that. They do exist with your Wandas and your Captain Marvels and whatnot. But it's this key element to the character.
That's true. And at least in Iron Man and Iron Man 2 or whenever I mix up where she's at in those movies. But it doesn't matter, because all I know is that in those movies, she really is using her sexuality as a tool, as a weapon. Whereas in this one, it feels like it's just there because...
And surprising from a female director, too.
Yeah.
So that was a conscious choice on her part to do it. Yeah. And that makes me wonder if it was a conscious...
Unless the studio said, hey...
If Scarlett didn't want to do it...
That's true.
So I'm thinking there was a conscious decision between her and the director.
Yeah, because there's never a eye blinky moment with Scarlett Johansson in this movie. There's never a moment where she uses seductive powers.
No, but you'll notice that the way Yelena is shot, there's almost none of that.
Yeah.
Because she's just a ball buster, punchy, kicky, stabby. So I think it's to establish this is who Natasha is. Right. This is who Yelena is. They're the same. They went through the same thing, but they're two totally different people.
Right. They operate in different ways.
Right.
So she gets inside this trailer, and you get this fun smile from her as she finds Rick Mason asleep on the bed, and she's like, "Hey, that's my bed. Get out." As we said before, he's like the go-to guy. He's like her personal Q branch.
He's the Morgan Freeman of this movie. He's a man who can get things.
Exactly. And again, I do like the chemistry between them. Obviously, he's way more into her than, and we find this out at the very end, which is a great line, but I'm just going to wait until we get there. But yeah, it's just good chemistry between them. And I loved the Fanny Longbottom. The Fanny Longbottom alias that he gives her on one of her IDs for her, one of her passports or whatever. It was very similar. This is another Bond thing, because this reminds me of like when in Casino Royale, when Bond says Vesper's alias is Stephanie Broadchest. So it's a very Bondian sort of thing. I like it.
We're never going to be able to forget Holly Wormflash.
Indeed. So, so this trailer, as it turns out, is her little safe house. We get this nice little scene where he tries to convey that they're friends and he's expressing concern, but she kind of pushes him away and is kind of like, I don't pay you to worry about me.
Right.
That whole thing, like just kind of pushing him away. And then he kind of starts drifting back towards, his car or whatever. And she finds this big box of mail. She's like, what's all this stuff? And he's like, well, that's from Budapest. And we get that fun little exchange about the
Pest,
yes, the correct pronunciation of Budapest. Budapest.
It's Budapest. Budapest.
So she puts the box in her car, which is interesting.
He tells her that in order to take out her trash, she has to take it to a dumpster that's in town.
Oh,
so she's going to throw it out
in her car. Okay, I missed that.
Because I think she's also carrying a bag of trash along with her.
There we go. So she puts that stuff in her car, and then we cut back inside where she's having a beer. Was she dyeing her hair too? No.
Yes, she had a box to dye her hair blonde, which she does at the end.
Right.
But she never gets around to it at that point.
That's right. So, and then we get the true Bond moment of this movie where she's watching Moonraker.
Moonraker of all the choices. I don't know why that made me so happy, but it did.
I think it's just because it's the most campy. It's the most like...
Yes.
There's nothing campier than Moonraker.
Right.
In the Bond franchise. And who doesn't immediately recognize Bond in space?
Right.
It's immediately...
You instantly know which one it is when you're watching it.
And she does a great imitation of Roger.
But she's following the dialogue too, which is spectacular.
Yeah, she
because she's doing Drax. And then she's doing Roger.
Yeah. She knows all the lines.
All the lines. Like she's been watching it forever. She's all like,
she's got that lilt that Roger would.
It is by far my favorite moment in the entire film.
But then the power goes out. So we see Natasha, she's heading into the nearest town in order to throw out her trash and fix the generator.
Yeah.
And as she's kind of turned the corner to get onto this bridge, and then suddenly, boom. And it looks like there must have been some sort of like landmine under her or some sort of timed bomb.
Or hit her with an RPG or something like that.
Yeah. All I know is that the thing flips over. Or does it flip? I can't remember if it flips. And then the car's hanging halfway over the bridge, like kind of teetering.
Actually, you're right. It doesn't. It goes up and then it goes to the side.
That's right. And the bridge is kind of falling apart at this point too. So she's kind of teetering on the edge, and the Taskmaster gets out of the car. And
Land Rover, by the way. Fine choice of evil spy villains everywhere.
And Natasha thinks that it's Ross, because she says something about that.
Yeah, she thinks they caught him. She's like, you have no jurisdiction in Norway.
That's what it is. That's what it is. So they start to fight, and this is really cool seeing them fight identically.
Right.
Sort of introducing us to the idea that Taskmaster mimics whoever she's fighting.
Right.
So it's just kind of cool to see that. And then they stop in the pose.
Right. But they're posing at one another, which is even funnier.
Yeah. So they're looking at each other, kind of making sense of one another. And Natasha is just sort of confused. And then you see on the
Terminator screen?
The Terminator screen of the Taskmaster, it says the heads up display, I suppose.
Yes.
It says redirect to primary target. And so she just sort of walks away from her.
Right.
And Natasha's just kind of confused, but Taskmaster's walking for the case full of the fairy dust. What was it?
It was the ruby slipper dust.
The ruby slipper dust.
Ruby slipper dust.
So at that point, Natasha sort of realizes what's going on as well. So she shoots her little grappling thing and sort of temporarily hog ties her up on the top of the bridge or whatever.
And can I just say, same penetrating power as James Bond's watch from
The World Is Not Enough.
The World Is Not Enough. So I'm like, I do buy that power out of a wrist launcher, maybe not a watch.
Right.
But as soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh.
Well, and there's two
Pierce
of them.
would be jealous.
And there's two of them in this movie, too.
Right.
There's one towards the end that Yelena uses, too. So after Taskmaster is temporarily tied up, she runs for the vials. And we get this really tidy bit of editing that I actually thought was really good because it's just enough that you realize that she pulled the vials out of the case, but not enough that you don't register it when it happens, but once you realize that the case is empty, when Taskmaster opens the case up, your brain remembers that flash in the edit that she took the vials out of the case.
Right.
I appreciate as an editor.
You appreciate fine editing.
I do. And that was a little nice, tidy little bit of editing there. So Natasha gets chucked into the river by Taskmaster, but only before she had kind of sneakily tucked away the vials into a pocket somewhere. And then she swims down the river far, far away, like, I don't know, far, far away. And Taskmaster, for whatever reason, doesn't go after her.
Yeah, that seemed a little weird.
Convenient.
Yeah.
So she gets to shore somewhere. And she pulls out the glowy red vials, and there's a photo inside the bundle of her and Yelena.
Which we saw from the pre-title sequence. It's the only thing she was able to save from her previous life.
Right. So it's like the calling card. It's like, oh, this was intended for you. And that kind of rolls us into Act 2 of this fine motion picture.
So, we cut to Wet Natasha showing up in Budapest at a train station. Budapest.
I just like saying it in Connery because then I can say it the Russian way.
If you say it as Sean Connery, he's actually saying both at the same time.
Budapest.
Because it's Budapest. And it just sort of hangs there.
Yeah.
So you cut to the train station in Budapest. She's making her way to the old safe house that Rick had told her that had cleared out and gave another tenant to.
Right.
And this is where we get, in my mind, the first, if not the only, woo as fuck moment.
Woo as fuck!
Yes, as the doves go flying as she walks through the courtyard. In a very wooian moment.
Yes.
Literally, nobody needed to have doves flying in this scene.
No.
So that had to be put in there on purpose.
By the way, kids, if you're not familiar with
Woo as fuck!
our woo as fuck moments, I highly recommend you go back to our review of Mission Impossible 2 and find out for yourself
just what woo as fuck means.
Just what woo as fuck really means. So anyway,
continue,
please.
Natasha goes into the building, finds a gun hiding in an old spot before going in. As she's walking in, she gets to the door, and we hear a muffled, "I know you're out there," from Yelena.
Natasha's like, "I know you're in there."
Yeah. I know I'm out here. And they kind of have this whole little bantery thing going back, like, I know you're here, I'm here, yada, yada, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
They walk, Natasha makes her way through the house, finally gets into the room where Yelena is, and they're pointing guns at each other. And, Natasha tries to talk her off the bridge.
Yeah.
But nope, we're gonna have sister fight.
Yeah.
And so, oh my gosh, it is a knockdown, brutal fight between the two of them.
Holy shit, dude. You know what it kind of reminds me of is there's that fight scene in Atomic Blonde where she's already got spyglass and she's in that house and she fights that guy inside that house.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of that, but slightly less brutal.
Well, Disney level.
Disney level brutal. Also, they're sisters, so
they're really not trying to hurt each other.
Right.
It's more about asserting dominance, I think, is what's going on
Despite the
there.
fact that Yelena grabs a giant friggin' kitchen knife, but anyway.
Right. But, they get through the fight by pulling down a curtain where they both end up choking each other with the same curtain, I might add.
Yeah.
And they finally give up. Elena starts to explain what the ruby slipper fairy dust stuff is. And like, you brought it back with you? What is it? Did you think it was a Grail diary?
Yeah.
That's the first thing that popped into my head when I saw it. But she said, she basically alludes to the fact that I sent it to you so that you could have one of your super scientist people figure it out and figure out a way to cure it. But then, yeah, we're really not on speaking terms, is more or less what Natasha says at this point.
Yeah.
But she thought, Yelena is like, basically, she thought that with the Avengers, they could take down the Red Room and save everybody. Natasha's like, there's no Red Room.
Yeah.
I destroyed the Red Room when I killed Dreykov. Except that, she's like, oh, did you kill him?
Right, exactly.
What about the daughter? Blah, 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 blah. They're going through the whole thing. And eventually the conversation gets cut short because they realize that the widows are coming to take him out.
The widows are coming.
The widows are coming. The widows are coming.
The widows are coming to Eisendorf.
Alarm.
I do like, now this is just sort of the first instance of it, but I do like how Yelena keeps bringing up over and over again, starting right here, the daughter of Dreykov.
Right.
She keeps pressing her about, like, what about the daughter? Why did you, because she knows that she attempted to kill Dreykov and didn't really care that the daughter was essentially collateral damage.
Right. Well, and that was her only way to get out, right?
Right.
Which, it's funny because, when you think of that, Barton was involved with that. And Fury was involved with that, so everybody okayed that plan.
Right. It wasn't like it was just her decision. This was a Avengers approved, stamped.
This was people who were on the Avengers who were also doing this stuff, kind of thing. And it also brings up the point that, did you find a body? There was no body to find. Well,
right.
The classic spy thing, if you didn't see a body, he's not dead.
Right, exactly.
Kind of situation. Also, there's a great line in there, I think it's just before they start fighting, where she's like, can you tell me what kind of bullet makes that hole?
Yes.
And she's like, it's an arrow. Okay.
Yeah.
So we got widows coming. Yelena had put up some countermeasures in the building beforehand because, spy shit.
Spy shit.
She sets off some charges. We get gunfire. We get shooting. We get running. Yelena clearly has the plan because she was anticipating this happening.
Right.
Because Natasha didn't think there were any more widows anywhere, right? She thought,
she
everybody
didn't realize
was free
they even existed.
because she didn't bother to go back to check on her sister. Right. She didn't know.
Yeah.
They alluded that numerous times in here that you never even came back for me.
Yep.
You were so busy going off to be a good guy that you didn't care about what you were leaving. Which also I think is part of the whole Dreykov's daughter thing.
Yes.
Like, you're okay with collateral damage, and guess what? That's what I was too.
I was collateral damage to you, so that's part of that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they go out, they're outside the building. Natasha's, where are you headed? There's a motorcycle outside of the building, Yelena says. And you're like, oh, great, we're going to have a motorcycle with Black Widow on it again. That's her thing. They make it to the top of the building, which it's such a great thing, but everybody runs to the top of the buildings.
I don't know.
It's and really I guess weird. Maybe if you have superpowers, it's a more of an option. But I'm feeling like, how are you going to get... Everybody does it. And it just seems so counterintuitive to me. But I used to think I was like, well, they wouldn't expect it.
Right.
No one expects the top floor Inquisition. But no, everybody expects it now. Anyway, so they get to the top of the building. And there's a pretty good rooftop chase, which leads to them unhinging. It looks like a smokestack, right?
Yeah. It's
a big metal smokestack that runs all the way down the side of the building.
Right.
So Yelena pulls out, I'm guessing, metal pins or something that's holding this smokestack attached to it in an attempt to get it to move away from the building so they can ride it woohoo style to their safety. But one of the widows that's pursuing them jumps on to this smokestack thing and follows along with them, but loses her grip and starts to fall off, which Natasha tries to catch her.
Right.
Because she's an Avenger. We save people.
That's right. We don't let them fall to their death.
No, because like a brutal widow would.
Right.
But strangely enough, this widow is having nothing to do with it.
Well, she's so brainwashed that
she's basically fighting Natasha, holding on to her, and ends up breaking free and falling down to the ground before they get to where they're at.
Oh, this fall from Natasha is just so nasty.
Yeah. She loses control of where she's at, and it's literally the John Wick fall from John Wick 3, where she hits every solid object on the way down.
Well, it's every Jackie Chan movie of somebody falling and hitting like 5 things on their way down.
Right. The logic being it's decelerating them to the point where they won't die.
Which is silly. When she gets up
Right.
way too easily at the end of that. I'm just like, oh, okay.
Genetic manipulation.
Yes, I know, but still, man.
I know.
It's so brutal.
Even an oof
just
when you get up,
ragdoll.
right?
She's just getting flopped like
Clang,
a ragdoll.
Tang, spang, dong.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically what the sound effects were when she hit down there. So, yeah. So she runs over to the fallen widow agent who, strangely, she's the worse for the wear, even though she wasn't hitting things on the way down.
Yeah.
So I'm a little concerned about that, but moving the story along. She sees that she's seriously injured. She tries to help her, but Rykoff, they cut to Rykoff with his evil iPad, and he's like, nope, you're done.
Yeah.
And she's basically takes her widow blaster and points it at her own head and shoots herself.
Yeah.
And it was pretty gruesome, the after effect of that, when you see the left side of her face.
Yeah, it's rough.
Oh my gosh, it was terrible.
Again, it's like, they're really good at showing how ruthless and monstrous Dreykov is, but at the same time, like, his performance doesn't live up to...
Yeah, it doesn't really live up to the evilness that's being brought forth.
Carried out, yeah.
Elena shows up. She's got one of the red vials in her hand because she had grabbed the case as they were leaving, but of course realizes she's too late, stuffs it back into a bundle, and how come these things don't break?
They're encased in
ruby slipper dust is like it's some sort of magic glass. It's like Gorilla Glass, but it's like radioactive Gorilla Glass.
I assumed it was like heavy plastic.
Yeah, maybe. It's transparent aluminum. There we go.
Sure.
We get a little Star Trek in our superhero shit. Anyway, so the widow's dead. They got to run. Natasha and Elena try to book it out, but just as they hop on the motorcycle, which Natasha cleverly steals the keys for Elena. Yeah. Elena thinks she's driving, but like, nope. I'm Black Widow. I'm driving a motorcycle. And Elena has a comment
this is
like,
kind of my thing.
Yeah, but Elena's like, oh, okay, fine. Of course you're going to do that kind of thing, right? Tail my thunder from me. As they're getting on, a gigantic armored car drifts into the alleyway. Okay, I want to say that again. A giant armored car drifts into an alleyway. All of a sudden, we're Fast and the Furious in this movie for like 2 seconds. So the ensuing, you know what's going to happen. They're driving down this tight alleyway. In comes the car, the armored car, which is entirely too big for this alleyway. Right. It's hitting bicycles. It's hitting motorcycles. It's hitting trash cans.
Smashing everything in its way.
Everything in its sight. They manage to get out of the alleyway and on the open street. And they lose the armored car, but then another widow shows up on a motorcycle and starts following them. And this is... kind of a woo moment. We got some motorcycle stuff going on here.
It's slightly wooish in nature.
I'll allow it.
Okay.
Woo as fuck!
No doves in this one. We get this great moment, when they skid sideways onto a handrail and they go flying and then get back up to carjack a car. And the funny thing is, Tasha's like, you can't steal this guy's car. What, you want me to unsteal it? Elena says. Just her dry wit. Like, why are you trying to be this goody two-shoes?
Right.
Are you fucking kidding?
It's just been hanging around Steve Rogers too long.
Yeah, well, it rubs off on you, apparently. Get into the car. They start driving.
Yeah. Now I will say this area right here, where right after they carjack the car, and we get this super wide aerial footage of them being chased. It's the one moment in the entire movie where I'm not a fan of the footage because it's so wide. And listen, I'm watching this on a pretty big television. I can barely see the cars that are moving. Like I'm barely recognizing what I'm supposed to be actually focused in on because they're so wide. But the car's like teeny tiny, like barely. I don't know. Just a note for you, Kate. Anyway, moving on. As they're getting chased, they're trying to figure out, what's the plan here, Natasha? You're just driving the car. Natasha's like, I don't know. I'm basically making this up. I'm just trying to get us out of here. Right.
And then Elena's like, okay, fine. And she kicks open the passenger door. It hits a sign, which then cuts the door off of the BMW that they're driving, and then slides over and dismounts the motorcyclist all in one fell swoop.
Really well done.
It is pretty fantastic. But, just when they think they're in the clear from kicking outdoors at people, in comes the armored vehicle again, and who could possibly be driving the armored vehicle, or at least in the armored vehicle that's being driven?
Indeed.
Why, look, it's the Taskmaster.
Of course it is.
And instead of using her fancy dance shield and all the other nonsense, pulls out the compound bow.
Right.
And can I just say... There are a lot of things that I like about Marvel movies, but how they operate bows really annoys me to a degree that I can't even. I mean, I'm bad enough with the foldy sword that she has later on.
Yeah.
But the bows look so fake.
The foldy sword look like when she tucks that sword back into her backpack, it looks like something that should have been given to Harry Potter.
Right.
Like it's like, oh, come on.
Exactly.
That sword is like 3 feet long and it just magically foldies into the thing.
Into a solid sword.
Right.
But I mean,
same thing with bows, though. You're right.
It's literally the actor holding their fist out and going like pushing forward and then a clickety clackety clack clack clack.
Right. The CG,
I hated it when Hawkeye
thing.
did it. I hate it when she does it. I will continue to hate it until somebody just pulls out a long bow. Actually, you know what? In the Hawkeye TV show that's on Disney Plus, it's actually a lot more convincing because she just has a regular bow.
Right.
Kate Bishop only has she didn't get a fancy Dan Hawkeye bow until later on.
Right.
So, but anyway, Taskmaster gets the magic bow of doom, fires off one of Hawkeye's patented explodey arrows, and it goes underneath the car.
Bounces off the ground.
Hits the car, and blows it up over on top of itself.
Does not explode when it bounces off the ground.
That's because it's high-tech Stark equipment.
Sure. Just saying.
I mean,
anyway.
Okay. I literally cannot argue that, but it still looked cool. So car blows up, flips over, and then somehow manages to land in the same train station that I'm pretty sure that Natasha came out of.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And just happens to be the same train station that she was hiding out in.
That car flip and subsequent slide into
down to the stairs,
down to the subway station, just nobody would survive. Okay, yes, I get it. They're enhanced human beings. But man,
I'm actually more surprised that nobody got hurt in the train station.
Yeah, there were
nobody who's just casually walking through the Budapest train station gets hit by a careening BMW coming down a flight of stairs.
Right, exactly.
If I'm going to accept the fact that Natasha Romanoff can fall off of a 5-story building and hit everything on the way down and then get up and run,
fair enough.
I'm okay with her being in a car that got bloody in there.
Fair enough.
But they survive.
Yeah.
They climb out of the busted up room, and Natasha's like, okay, we got to go hide. So in comes Taskmaster. Well, they slide down an escalator.
Oh my God. All I could think of was Skyfall.
Yep. And all I can think of is maybe this is not how it is in...
I think I know where you're going with this.
Maybe it's not how they do it in Budapest, but there are no little nubs to keep people from sliding down like every escalator
does
in America.
In America.
It's like they pull them off, they go sliding down. And I'm going to point out, they had that thing lubed up because I saw when Natasha hit it, there was like a smooth kind of, when she hit it, where whatever they lubed it up with kind of pushed out when she hit it.
Right.
Which I think explains a great deal. But still, where are the things where you're not going, ow, 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 ow,
yeah.
ow, ow, ow,
I know. I was like, they cleared off all the little nubs and lights, and how convenient.
How convenient that that's designed exactly for sliding down. Pretty great. So as Taskmaster's following him, she basically finds a trail of blood that leads into an underground section of the train station.
Right.
And using the logic that it's their blood, jumps into the thing, falls off. Well, like she fooled Thunderbolt Ross earlier.
That's
Tricks
right.
on you, Taskmaster. They're up hiding in an air shaft where we learn they were hiding back in Budapest
when they killed
Dreykov's daughter.
When they thought they
killed Dreykov and Dreykov's daughter.
Right.
And so they have a little bit of talkie, this, that, and the other. Where what are we going to do next? I don't know. You look around, and it's hilarious because there's tic-tac-toe games from when Barton and Natasha were in there and some other things. I think there was some, like Hawkeye was here, kind of graffiti and stuff like that.
So marvelly.
And it's so funny.
But it's fun.
And it also kind of establishes that there's no real romantic link between Barton and Natasha.
Yeah.
stuck up in a room for, what did she say, 3 or 4 days they were in there?
Right. And what did they do? They played tic-tac-toe and made dumb graffiti on the wall.
Yeah, they weren't, Hawkeye wasn't putting his arrow in its very special sheath, if you know what I'm saying. So, anywho's, while they're up there, Yelena really starts talking about killing of Dreykov's daughter. Mm-hmm. Natasha kind of goes into the explanation that Dreykov's daughter was the only way to confirm Dreykov was in the building.
Yes.
And so, yes, basically it was a terrible thing to do that she's carried around with her entire life since. But considering how much she hated the idea of the Red Room when she was 11.
Right.
And then had to go through all that. It seems almost justifiable in Natasha's mind that I may have to do this unspeakable thing, but I'm finally free.
Right. Yeah. No, there's justification on both sides for both arguments. It's like,
right.
It's perfectly understandable that someone going through all that would want to just
cut it away as easy, as fast as possible.
Right.
And you have to also take a look into the fact that the stuff that Yelena has been doing, she's programmed, right?
Right.
She has an excuse to say, I wasn't doing those atrocities.
Right.
Everything that Natasha had to do
is like a decision.
She had to do it. Everything in her red ledger, she made the decision to do. There was no programming telling her to do it. So, and I'm surprised that she doesn't bring that up in the movie at some point to counter the argument.
Yeah.
Why do you keep throwing this at me? Everything you had to do, you were at least fucking programmed to have to do it.
Right.
I had to do it all on threat of death.
Right.
Period. So she doesn't go into that. Maybe that was a little too dark for where they were going. I don't know. But either way, we see the flashback of her doing the deed and the building blows up. We know Antonia's in there. And then, her feeling sad and boo-hooey about having to kill a little girl.
Right.
So they get out. They show them cut to them walking to this general store, bodega type of thing. And we find out that at this point that the Red Room is undetectable because it's constantly moving. Dreykov learned you can't keep it all in one space.
Right.
So he relocates frequently to throw people off. We also learned that every agent is basically sedated when going in and leaving. So they have no idea of where that location is when they're coming and going. So if somehow they manage to get turned, they still can't tell you because they didn't know where it was in the first place.
And they couldn't even tell you that it's in the air.
Right.
Necessarily.
Because we don't even know that till later.
Right.
Hiding in plain sight of the clouds. Also, no clouds above where they were at. So where the fucking satellites? We'll get to that. Anyway, Dreykov has managed to stay off Natasha's radar because he didn't want to get heat from the other Avengers. So being dead served his purpose with Natasha because Natasha had no reason to keep going.
Right.
Because, if the Avengers show up your doorstep, your whole program's hosed.
Yeah, you have a problem then.
Yeah. And because everybody liked Natasha, all she really needed was Rogers for that one, to be perfectly honest. Sure, Thor coming in and Iron Man would have been great. But if you had Rogers and Barton on board, that's really all you needed. Because Steve would have been like, oh, hell no. Yeah. And Barton would have been like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, and that's when we get some funny bits where Yelena kind of casually states that Natasha isn't one of the bigger Avengers because somebody like Thor doesn't need to take ibuprofen after a fight.
I do love that. And that's when we also get the whole posing thing.
Why do you always do that thing?
Do what?
The thing you do when you're fighting. Like this thing that you do when you whip your hair when you're fighting with the arm and the hair and you do like a fighting pose. It's a fighting pose. You're a total poser.
I'm not a poser.
Her delivery. First of all, she's got the best Russian accent for a non-Russian in the movie. But, it's at this point that I have to point out that there's a reason for the posing per se.
Well, the sexual...
No, okay, so that's a byproduct.
Maybe it's just because Scarlett Johansson is sexy.
When she hits the ground on those things, she slaps the ground with her front hand.
So she's
dispersing the energy from where she's coming from and landing on the ground.
Right.
Normally you do that in a tuck and roll, but she's doing it in a Iron Man-y pose. We have to really blame RDJ for this one. He started that shit in Iron Man with how you land from a height.
Right.
Right. So there's a logic to it. But it's funny that Natasha doesn't even bother trying to explain the logic of it. She just denies that she's posing at all.
Right.
Which, it's hilarious. Nightfall comes along, and they're sharing a beer while, Natasha walks over because they kind of have an argument.
Yeah.
And to soften up, she walks over with a bottle of beer.
Yeah.
Yelena's in there trying to fix the injury she has in her arm, and Natasha goes over and echoing what their mom did back in 95.
Right.
She blows on the
I do really
cut.
like this scene a lot. There's
a lot of emotional callbacks to things from their childhood.
Yeah, it's just a lot of good back and forth. I mean, it's really smartly written because it's sort of, they keep bringing up these little things that happened in the past, and Yelena's talking about how she couldn't tell whether it was, how much of it was her and how much of it was the mind control when she had to kill these other people.
Mm-hmm.
And you could see the guilt that Yelena was feeling over it. And so Natasha comes over and consoles her. And it's just, this whole scene is just really...
Yeah, it's basically the linchpin for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
Where they stop being bitchy to each other.
Right.
And kind of start...
This is the bloodletting scene.
Right. This is where Murtaugh and Riggs get together. And they go out to fight the general and get the drugs back or whatever.
Right.
It's the we're partners now,
Yeah.
soon to become friends, soon to become sisters.
Right.
Kind of standpoint. So Elena kind of gives a little bit more exposition on how the program has evolved since Natasha was involved with it, and how kids are being stolen and used and outright killed with no abandon. That Dreykov doesn't care how much is being invested into training these
Right.
people. They're all expendable assets. You can always get more, which is,
Right.
of course, reiterated later on in the story.
Very much so.
They talk about family. They talk about looking for parents. Natasha's like, my mother abandoned me when I was...
Threw me in the garbage
Yeah,
or
threw
whatever.
me in the trash. And so I never really had any parents to go looking for after I was done. They talk about having kids, which obviously they can't because, well, we get the explanation for that a little bit later too, so we'll just leave that. Yeah. The conversation kind of leads to things that they can have now that they're free of the mind control. What would you do? Now, what can you do now that you have the ability to do what you want to do? Natasha basically then invites her to go locate the Red Room and hunt down Dreykov, because, what else you got on?
That sounds like fun.
You got anything else on your agenda?
Right. So one of the more sly things in this scene that I didn't even pick up on until I hear the line at the very end of the scene is across the street from where they're having a beer.
Yeah.
There's a guy working on a car.
With a family.
With a family.
And that's where you get the whole talk about wanting to have kids and all that other stuff.
But they both sort of look at each other and they know where the key is, where the guy put the key, so they know how to steal the car.
Right.
It just kind of shows how they're both of the same mind that way. It's like...
Right. So they still said car. And then they have this really cute discussion about this vest that Elena... It's the first thing I ever bought for myself. It's got pockets.
It's got so many pockets.
So many pockets.
And you can't even tell that things are in there. You can keep so many things in these pockets.
I knew you liked my vest. I knew you liked it. And so this is kind of the vest is a bit of a MacGuffin, because in Infinity War, actually it's not in Infinity War. I think it's after, is it? I think it may be in Infinity War 2. Natasha is wearing this vest in the last two Avenger movies that she's alive. She dies with this vest on.
Oh, really?
Yes. So she has the vest after Elena gives it to her later on. And that it's a kind of a thing that's why Natasha changed her outfit to accommodate the vest with so many pockets.
So many pockets.
You could do so many things with this vest. It's great. And she's so excited like a teenager.
I know. Just because it's her first personal...
Yeah, it's the first thing she's ever gotten for herself.
Yeah.
It's probably like the first Lamborghini that Michael Jordan bought.
Sure.
You never forget your first Lamborghini.
Never.
Why would you forget your first vest?
That's right.
But as they're going in the car, they're like, we're not going to be able to get there in a car. Widow figures out that they're going to need to get Alexei, the Red Guardian, to figure out where the Red Room is.
Right.
Because obviously it's floating around, moving around. Well, we don't know it's floating. Floating in the sense that it's not in one place.
And we don't know where that...
And we don't know where that one place is because it's floating. But, and at this point I thought, well, maybe... I'm like, they're going to go find their mom to figure that out. I always forget that they have to go break Alexei out for this. And I don't know why, because it's the first big set piece of the entire film, really.
Right.
But yeah, so in order to go get him, they can't just drive to where they need to go because he's in prison in Russia.
In Siberia, I believe.
If that ain't Siberia, it's pretty Siberia adjacent. That's for dang sure. So they cut to the next day and they meet up with Rick, who, being a man that can find things and get things for you, gets them a helicopter. Not a jet,
but a helicopter.
Because didn't give him enough notice.
Right.
You can't work his magic with you get what you get with such short notice. Right. And then there's this great scene where he's got like a Black Widow's bug out bag.
Right.
From like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And Yelena opens up the bag and there's a granola bar. And she's like, I packed that in there 5 years ago. Nom.
She's like, dry, very dry.
But keeps eating it.
Yeah, it doesn't stop.
Doesn't stop. Keeps eating it. And of course, in this bag, not one widow costume, but 2
How convenient.
widow costumes. And the irony of ironies, and I don't know if you noticed this, Natasha's is much more form-fitting
Svelte.
than Yelena's is. And I'm like, was that a conscious choice? Because Yelena is not smaller than Natasha, so there's no reason for it to not fit as well.
Right.
But it looks baggier on her. So did Natasha have like, is that like an oversuit for the bodysuit? Because she's going into cold weather operations? I wonder what the logic was behind it.
Well, I assume that because they were white, that they were meant for camouflaging into snow.
Oh, absolutely. But I mean,
so I assume that they would be warmer than
one would assume. But what
that,
if
that still doesn't explain why one is so svelte and the other one is not?
Was Elena's suit intended to go over Natasha's suit while she was outside?
Oh, I see.
And then when she gets inside, takes off the scuba gear, perfectly pressed tuxedo, except that it's a white version of Natasha's skin type outfit. This was my thinking. I'm probably overthinking it, but there was a conscious decision to, again, and maybe it goes back to what I was saying. There's that sexualization of Natasha's character and kind of the bruiser version of Yelena's character.
Right.
Maybe that was the costume decision there. But as much as I appreciate trying to make a person's costume reflect what the character's doing, I need some logic to justify that. And at this point, we also get from Rick that Ross has been sniffing around in his affairs, which is causing him problems with his business.
Right. And it's kind of probably one of the reasons why he could only get her this janky helicopter too.
Right, because we've clearly established he's in the business of impressing Natasha.
Indeed.
So it does seem like a bit of a disappointment, particularly considering what he pulls out of his magic hat later in the film.
Indeed.
So they get their stuff together and we're cutting to Alexi's prison break.
Oh my gosh. All
of this scene is amazing, but David Harbour, my God.
Well, he makes it sing.
Absolutely.
Like, he is the reason why this scene works so damn well.
Absolutely, because he gets to play the goofy oaf. So from there, we cut to a prison cafeteria where Alexei is arm wrestling just about everybody and winning handily every single time, while getting a gigantic tattoo on his back and telling everyone of his times as the Red Guardian fighting Captain America, which somebody will call him out on, which is total bullshit because Captain America was frozen still at that point in time. But his whole thing was to be Captain America's analog for the Soviet Union.
Right.
And so...
because that's what he wants to be.
That's what he wants to be. That's what he was purported to be. That's his whole identity. So...
I just love when the one guy, one of the first guys, before he breaks the guy's arm.
Right.
And there's the one guy who suddenly thinks he's got a chance.
Well, because he's fucking with him. He's like, oh...
It's great.
It's fantastic. And just when you think about it, he's arm wrestling while getting a tattoo on his back.
Right.
And
I'm like, huge
tattoo. What's that tattoo going to look like if he keeps moving like that? He doesn't have to see it, I guess. It's on his back, right? So maybe it doesn't matter. But eventually we get this big, muscly, tall, giant dude that comes over and calls him out on the Captain America bullshit. And he's like, oh, you're telling me about what I need. And just slams his arm over and breaks his wrist to the point where it's just flabby,
so gross.
flabby hand, flabby hand. Flabby hand. It's super graphic for a Marvel movie.
It is.
No blood or anything, but just the damage that was...
It's gnarly.
Yeah. But I mean, when you think about how the widow fell down from the smokestack, and she had the janky leg going the wrong direction.
Yeah.
So they weren't really pulling any punches with this one. So anyway, as the guy's hand is flobbing around on his busted wrist, we hear over the PA system that Alexei has mail.
You've got mail.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand why he's getting calls for mail. I guess it's because of the cake and the guards wanted to taunt him. But it seems like if you get mail at a prison,
You just get it like once a week or something.
Yeah, you get it in the mail yard,
Right.
Alexei, blah, whatever. But nope. So he walks over to what I'm assuming is a guard shack, and the two guards give him a lot of shit about being the Red Guardian and all this other stuff. There's cake that they're eating.
Oh yeah, they're like, tell whoever sent you this.
More butter.
Yeah.
Right? More butter. That's pretty great. And he sits down on a bench that's in front of it over there and opens up, and inside is a little 12-inch Red Guardian doll that he recognizes, which is even funnier.
Well,
because he starts doing the song when he knows it's
I
going to come.
know.
He pushes
He
the
gets
button.
so excited. He gets so like joyous about it.
And he pushes the button. It's all follow the Red Guardian, blah, 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 blah. He's so happy. But then the head pops off after he pushes the button. And inside the head is an earpiece. And of course, he knows just what to do with an earpiece. Put it in your ear. But he does kind of, anybody look
Yeah, I know. Not
like,
exactly subtle.
I'm like, man, you could have been all like brushing your long hair back and nobody would have known. But no, you're all like looking left, looking right. What's happening? As he puts it in, how does she know it's in his ear?
Well, does he start talking or not?
I don't think he starts talking. I think she just literally tells him, okay, we're here to rescue you, dumbass. Do what I tell you to do if you want to get out of here, and don't make a commotion. So what does he proceed to do? Starts running for the gates and makes a commotion.
Right.
All of the prisoners see him running. Red Guardian is escaping, and they go, are they running with him? Are they chasing again? I don't understand.
I was a little confused by that as well. I figured they were just wanting to try and escape as well.
That's what I was thinking, but they didn't. It wasn't clearly defined, and the fact that there's even a doubt has to make me wonder. But he ends up jamming the door closed with, what did he grab?
Oh,
was it another door?
I don't even know. It was just a big old piece of metal.
Yeah, and he shoves it in there and prevents the door from being able to get open. And Natasha's like, you made a commotion, didn't you? But then he comes out and he has this another moment, again, with the demonstration of superpowers in the Marvel Universe. He kicks a gigantic metal, what's effectively a ship door.
Well, and that's the interesting thing about this whole breakout scene is he probably could have escaped of his own will.
Yeah, you start thinking, why was he still there?
Yeah, like if he's this strong, he probably could have made his way out of there.
He kicks a metal bulkhead door off of a wall, and then she tells him to haul ass. So he starts making these gigantic leaps onto a fence.
Right, he's like gargoyle jumps up the wall.
Right. Completely just doing things that you're like, why is he still here?
Right.
And so you're like, is he there because of his own self-inflicted penance? Nobody knows.
Yeah.
But it's like he comes alive suddenly and starts doing what he needs to do. But meanwhile, you've got Natasha and Yelena up in this old Soviet-era helicopter trying to get to a point where he can get to the chopper so they can get him out. Natasha has to go down to help him. Lan's doing the pose.
Yeah.
See, you're such a poser. Right? And,
I just love that. I love how she's just shaking her head like...
Right. Well, and then she has to put the helicopter on autopilot, goes and gets a rocket launcher to take out a gun turret that's shooting on a witch. By the way, you can't launch that rocket launcher inside a helicopter unless you have the other door open.
Because you'd blow out the other side of the...
blast.
Right.
In for a penny, in for a pound. I say it every single time.
Yeah.
You basically just... this finely choreographed violence... with a floating helicopter and ropes on a bridge. I mean, that's literally all you need to know. But the piece de resistance, Chris, let me know if I pronounced that correctly, is she starts an avalanche from blowing up the gun tower.
Right.
And she's like, oh, could get interesting.
Yeah.
Whoa. This would be a cool way to die.
Right? And then you see all the people that are running after Red Guardian see the snow coming and immediately run back into the building.
Right.
It's hilarious. The only thing this was missing was somebody on a snowboard to a bad cover of a Beach Boys song and another Bond moment. This is literally the only thing this movie didn't have was a skiing moment. And this got pretty close.
Right.
So everybody sees the avalanche. They run away. Natasha gets back on the rope, swings against Alexei. They pull him up to the helicopter and everybody's flying away. Farewell, douchebags. So in the helicopter, Alexei's immediately greeted with a punch in the face by Yelena. He makes a snide comment, this is your time of the month. And that sums up all you need to know about Alexei in this movie, really.
Yeah.
Just not very good at dealing with women or
Nope.
people or the world. He's just an asshole that wants to relive his past glories.
Yeah. Well, I think you hit it on the head, actually, even though we were kind of joking about it earlier, is that prison did this to him.
Absolutely.
Like this could, because he clearly wasn't that guy when we saw him in the
Right.
pre-title. So, and based on the storyline, essentially, as soon as he gave that disc off,
he got put in jail.
He got put in jail, and so the rest of his life, so that would kind of turn him into this person who he is now.
As Red would say in Shawshank, he's been institutionalized. He did better on the outside, though. I'm just saying.
That's true. That's true.
So this is where they remind him that as being part of the Red Room program, they had their uterus and their ovaries cut out, so they can't have a time of the month.
I just love the mimicking that Yelena does with her hands.
Yeah, they pull out the thing.
They pull it down and they
take it and they snip it and they cut it. And he's just like, stop. He's like, I was just about to get to the fallopian tubes. Yeah, again, Florence Pugh, man.
Yeah, so good.
I'm so looking forward to her being in anything that Marvel does going forward, because she's going to be the snide ass remark person that Scarlett Johansson was, but she's so much better at it.
I just want to see her in more spy stuff, period, too.
Period.
I mean, I think about how good she was in The Little Drummer Girl, as sort of this actress who turns into a spy over the course of it. I would love to see her in another. I think she could be the main character as a spy. I just think she's a great actress. Just all around, like she's
got a future ahead of her.
That girl's got a future.
That girl's got a future. She's got moxie. She's got that, I don't know, je ne sais quoi, right, Chris? Je ne sais quoi. There's something about her. It's just fantastic.
The joys of writing into the CIC. You're going to hear about it in future episodes.
So
excellent.
So Alexei basically just goes on this whole tear about, oh, my girls are back and we're such a family. Because this is in his brain. This is probably what's been sustaining him for the past 20 some odd years.
Which ironically, he keeps complaining about how bored he was.
Right. How bored he was. And he didn't want a family, but they are his family.
And yet it's the thing that's kept him
pretty much sane, I'm going to say, because, there's usually the super soldier serum makes you a little crazy and the bad variants. So some of that probably wasn't helping his mental state as he was going along. But he's trying to build up this family dynamic, and both of them are having nothing to do with it at all. And Natasha's straight up in business mode. This is what we're doing. This is what you're going to do.
Yeah.
This is how we're going to do it.
We're going to find out where the Red Room is.
Yeah, exactly. We don't care. So Natasha keeps pressing him to find out where the Red Room is, but he actually doesn't know. This is where I keep thinking, why didn't they just go to Mom first?
Right.
Because he's been in prison forever.
They thought she was dead. That's the thing.
Oh, that's right. They did. They thought she was dead.
Yeah.
Yes. That explains it all. Let's go ahead and edit all that stuff out so that I don't seem like an idiot. Okay. Great. So he's like, I don't know, but Melina knows. And of course, the girls we now know thought she was dead. Well, I know now. I guess you all did if you watched the movie that I did watch. Clearly did not pick that up on. Alexa has that line, is like, you cannot kill a fox that swift. And they're like, ew.
I love the ew moments.
The mom and dad having sex ew moments. Yes.
So good in this.
Because they both do it.
Yeah.
It's not just Elena. They're both like, I'm not listening. La 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 la.
Yeah.
Too funny. So Alexei kind of goes into the thing that she still works for the Red Room, but not directly. She's working at a lab outside of St. Petersburg. Elena mentions that she doesn't think they have enough fuel to make it to St. Petersburg, but Alexei's like, no. We have more than enough fuel to get plenty of fuel. And Elena's like, all right, whatever. And then we cut to the chopper literally falling from the sky and crashing with smoke in it.
Very almost cartoony.
Yeah, it had a very
comedy.
Looney Tunes feel to it.
Yeah.
Like there should have been a like coyote at the end of that. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Big puff of smoke. Clouds go flying around.
See, now, Eon, that's where a slide whistle is appropriate.
The only place where a slide whistle is appropriate.
Not when James Bond is flipping a car over on a jump. No matter who is in the back seat, even if it's Officer Pepper or whatever. JW Pepper, that's his name.
There you go.
I hate him.
It doesn't matter. Slide whistles are really never appropriate.
No.
But in this moment, we would allow it.
Right.
We would allow it. So as they start walking, the girls finally just have enough of Alexei and his bullshit because all he cares about is whether Natasha ever talked to Captain America to tell us war stories about these battles with the Red Guardian. And it's like, he wasn't even alive. He was frozen.
And they're like, you haven't seen us for 20 years. And
that's what you want to know.
Right.
You don't care about us. You don't care anything about us. You want to know about Captain America. Okay, fine.
America.
Then, he makes another turn. He starts acting like the proud father. Look at what you girls have turned into. All the kills you've made. Your ledgers must literally be dripping with blood. Nice callback to the Avengers.
Yes.
Right?
I couldn't be more proud of you.
I couldn't be more proud of you. And they just keep walking down the road.
Well, I love that we get that little, are we there yet?
Right.
And he's like, oh, you'll know. And then he does the little.
Yeah, he does a little pig thing. Yeah. What does that mean? But also brings up the question, how does Alexei know that there's pigs there if he's been in jail since they landed?
Yeah.
Did Melina maybe go see him in prison?
Hard to say.
She still had the Red Guardian costume.
A lot of things we don't know.
I feel like we need... Remember? Well, maybe you don't remember. For those of you who like Marvel movies like I... remember when they used to do the little short takey things when they would release the movie and they do like a little 3 or 4 minute vignette that dealt with Coulson or Peggy Carter or Thor's hammer or something like that.
This would be a good moment for that.
They really need to have a... What happened to Alexei after this all happened?
Yes, Melina comes for a visit.
Yeah, it just has to maybe be them 6 years down the road from when he's been put in prison.
Yeah.
And he's not quite crazy yet.
He's just kind of crazy, but not totally gone yet.
Marvel, if you're listening, because I know you listen to this podcast because we have such great ideas.
Clearly.
Get on it.
That's right.
What are we waiting for? I'll write it for you. Ben will film it for you and edit it for you.
That's right.
We will do it. David Harbour, Rachel Weisz, and honestly, in our contract, Dan Craig's going to have to show up too. Find us a prison. We'll take care of it for you.
Yeah.
Good to go. Okay, good. So that'll be like your really first big movie credit.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Jason. Done deal.
All we need is to sign that red ink in the ledger. We're ready to go.
That's right.
So much red. So we cut to a top-down shot of pigs walking through a maze that's been set up. Now we understand. And we see Melina, she's telling the pigs how good they are because they're going through this maze. And she also has an evil genius iPad thingy.
Yes.
And she's using it to command the pigs, but also there's an alarm that's set off. She has some proximity sensors somewhere.
Right.
That's how she knows. So she goes in and gets her gun. And I like how she just hefts what looks like a 50 caliber or sniper rifle.
Right.
With like, you know how much that thing weighs, right? And I'm like, okay, maybe she's had enhancements. Okay, fine, I'll buy it. You would not think that someone like Rachel Weisz would be so comfortable whipping around this gigantic firearm.
Well, I mean, kudos to her for making it look that way. Since
she was acting. Thank you.
Shakespeare.
But she pops through the site. And she sees the two girls, and who could miss Alexei? Nobody's going to miss Alexei. Right. Her family walking in there. And then as he comes in, honey, we're home! Melina leads them back to the house, and we get the most awkward family dinner ever assembled in a Marvel movie. More awkward than the family dinner in the Eternals? Yes, I think it's more awkward than that one too. And we basically get it's every kids coming home with dysfunctional parents trope you see in a film,
right?
But with an added layer of superhero spy intrigue,
right?
Which makes it twice as ridiculous and twice as entertaining. You literally have two girls sitting in white superhero uniforms
at a dinner table.
At a dinner table with their fat, out-of-shape dad, also in his superhero uniform that barely fits.
It was squeezed into it like a...
Still fits. And then you've got Melina, the mom, just dressed like a mom.
Right.
And then they start having...
You're slouching.
You're slouching. I'm not slouching. You need to eat more of this. I don't need to eat more of that. The whole thing is funny. Harbour keeps throwing the lines in. You're just as beautiful and supple as the day they staged our marriage. Oh my gosh. All this stuff. Natasha trying desperately to keep everybody on track with what they're going to do.
Here's the plan.
Yeah, here's the plan.
Stop slouching.
Yeah.
Here's the plan.
Yeah, exactly. And it's almost like the character she ends up becoming in Infinity War, where she's kind of keeping everybody together,
right?
Handing out the assignments, this, that, and the other. Yeah, it's just funny. She's the grown-up.
Right.
Basically in this whole situation. Right. The one who usually is very flippant and uncaring about anything. Alexi tries to get a little something. And
I have a lot of energy.
Yeah, exactly. I've been in prison for 20 years. I have a lot of energy. Ew. Natasha just looks on with horror. And finally, Natasha says, we need to know where the Red Room is so we can kill Dreykov. And Melina says, you can't defeat a man that controls the very will of people. And then we get the exposition about the thing. She brings in the pig with the super iPad.
Can I just say, I hate this scene. Like the scene where the pigs come in and she makes the pig stop breathing.
Yep.
I know it's a CGI pig.
Right.
I know it's not a real pig. I know the pig's not actually going to die. But God, it's just
super uncomfortable.
And granted, that's what it's there to do.
Right.
I just don't like it because it works, because it's very effective.
It is
for
very
me.
effective. And don't worry, he had 11 seconds before anything bad would have happened.
Right.
And then he said, go on. Did that pig open the door? That was my favorite part of that. Like, did that pig open the door? She names the pig Alexi.
Oh, yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah. That's the fact that you named the pig after me?
What, you don't see the resemblance? She then kind of goes into the extrapolation that what the mission in Ohio was to break into a SHIELD lab where they were doing mind control type of experiments, steal all the data so they can bring it back, and that is eventually what became the Red Room program after being shuffled through stuff that they'd learned in the Winter Soldier program. They sort of brought the two programs together to get the new and improved Black Widows, which is why she's not affected by it. Natasha's not affected by it. We learn later on, however, that Dreykov did put other things in place to prevent
as a safeguard
to prevent the fully conscious widows from being able to do anything.
Right.
Very clever. It's so clever. However, it's good scene. So that was the whole impetus for why they were there, why they left. They basically were able to use this information to create like a cellular blueprint of the basal ganglia, kids. Get your biology books. You know, it's in there. Basal ganglia, which in the scientific speak is the hub of human cognition, according to some brain specialists. Others may argue.
Yes.
But Melina states that she thinks that people operate at a higher level when they're under control, like ants. She's basically going for the hive mentality.
Right.
Without having to think about emotions and other consequences. You're much more effective because you're just doing the thing.
Right.
Like the Borg, which is a whole different thing.
The Borg.
Yeah, Borg. They're in Norway. And you know how they're in Norway, Ben. Norway. All right. Sorry. Call back. And so then we get to...
oh, God, I love this part of the scene.
They really get this thing where they start talking about how their family was just a construct. And this is mostly Natasha driving this.
Yeah.
Because Natasha, I think, subconsciously doesn't want to admit that she went through this whole thing that the Avengers are her family because she had no family because her mother abandoned her.
She doesn't want to admit that what she went through for 3 years somehow still affects her.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And even though...
this is another shining moment for Florence Pugh's character.
Oh, absolutely. Because she's like, yeah, you did. So Natasha is going off, basically saying, we're not family. It's all a construct. None of it actually matters. But you can tell that Yelena, it still matters to.
Right.
Because she was, even though there's probably, 5-6 year age difference between the two of them.
But she's at that age that's much more impressionable.
She's literally a little girl. Natasha's almost a teenager. And Natasha had already been in the Red Room and knew what was happening. So she had a level of awareness that probably even a normal 10-year-old wasn't going to have because they teach her that, I'm assuming, situational awareness for things. Yeah. So all that Yelena remembers, and she literally says that, she's like, all I remember from my childhood was that you're my family.
Yeah.
Because she was too young when she got taken away from whoever her parents were to remember anything by the age that she was when they did that.
Yeah.
And they'd been there for 3 years. So that means she was probably like 1 or 2 when they went over to Ohio in the first place.
So that's all. I mean, that's about when you start remembering things as a kid anyway.
Exactly. So to her, it was all very real. She says it was all very real for her and that no one told her it wasn't real. after she got into the Red Room. So,
Yeah, she calls them all out for different various reasons. I mean, It's like Melina made her the lab rat. Alexei was just buddy-buddy with Dreykov, and then Natasha never went to, like, save her or anything.
Never came back to find out what happened to
and
her.
everybody just kind of gets quiet for a little.
Because they're all like,
Yeah.
And what does she do in true Russian fashion? Grabs the vodka and heads off to drink, buddy. Yeah. And then Alexei's like, don't worry, I will handle this.
Yes, because when it comes to handling sensitive situations, you think Alexei.
Exactly. So he heads off, and Natasha and Melina are together talking basically about the whole family dynamic. And she's like, my mother just left me behind. And Melina's like, oh, no. We took you from your mother.
Right.
And we paid off your family. But your mother, that wasn't anything for her. She never stopped looking for you.
Right.
To the point where Dreykov had to kill her to get her off the scent of the Red Room because he was worried about risking the exposure from it.
Right.
And Natasha's like, oh, okay, so maybe my mom was cool. Because, I mean,
yeah.
But it's funny.
At the same time, it's almost more painful now for Natasha because now
that's
she
her whole
knows
existence.
Right. Her whole she was able to just sort of dismiss her parents previously because she didn't know any better. And now it's like that digs the knife even further and makes her even more charged and more driven to go kill Dreykov, make sure Dreykov's actually dead.
Right, exactly. And Melina says, it's better not to dwell in the past, but Natasha, finds their fake family album that contradicts it. Now, in the scene in 95 when they're going, Natasha, the thing she tries to grab is the family album, which is literally filled with fake pictures that were taken in Russia before they even left.
Right. And then they actually start talking about that. Remember when we shot Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Easter all on the same day?
Yeah, exactly. But, it shows that Melina is just as sentimental about those times together because she can't have babies either. She run through the Red Room program just like anything else.
It's the closest thing that she's going to have to kids,
it probably has ever had to having it. So you start to see all these, because of the fucked up nature of the life that they've all led, the only way they could have a true family was because of this dynamic.
Right.
Some seriously mind-blowing shit, man. So they have a heart-to-heart moment where Melina breaks and basically tells Natasha that she's already contacted the Red Room and that they'll be here in any minute.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like they're both sort of tearful and, oh, by the way,
I fucked you over. Sorry. Meanwhile, during all this, Alexei is in this bedroom with Yelena.
This story.
I know.
Oh, God.
Oh, God. What we affectionately call the peahan story. He's trying to relate something from his own past to explain the love that fathers have for their children.
Right.
And Elena's just like, please leave. Please leave. I didn't want you to go. Do you not understand why I left the table? And so Alexei goes into this diatribe story about how and when he was 10 years old, he's ice fishing with his father.
I am reaching for fish. Oh, I lose balance. Splash! My hands go in the river. In this weather, frostbite sets in quick. My father, he go toilet on my hands.
Oh my God.
Urine is 35 degrees Celsius. Staves off the frostbite.
How is this relevant?
Fathers.
Fathers, right?
Am I right? Yeah. Fathers, am I right?
Fathers, am I right? So clearly Alexei's doing what he does best, which is trying to botch up anything because it all comes back to him. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember seeing she's like, well, so this is when you were the Crimson Dynamo? And you almost think she does it on purpose.
Right.
At this point, just to get his goat.
Yeah, just to falsely identify him as the Crimson Dynamo.
To see what he's going to do.
Yeah.
Right. Is he really being sincere? And he's like, it's actually the Red Guardian. Right. Because, again, it's his ego. That's all it's about.
Right.
So she starts getting mad again. He gets on there and then in a fit of inspiration to help bind them together,
right,
he starts singing Miss American Pie badly. And she starts singing with him.
Yeah.
And the whole thing, they have a moment. But, I don't know. Does he try to hug her? I can't even remember.
I don't think
There's something uncomfortable about it where she's basically like, no, we're not there yet.
Right.
Actually, I think they're getting to that point, and then they see the lights from the not Quinjets from the Avengers landing on the ground.
Right.
With the Red Room peeps in it. And so this is basically everybody needs to, all hands on deck. We're about to get invaded. So Lexi throws on his helmet. He's ready to go. The helmet looks so ridiculous on his chubby little face.
Yeah.
It's like his cheeks are just oozing out of the side of it. Doesn't put the string strap on.
Nope.
He's ready to go. Pops out to a window. It gets broken, and he gets hit with a tranq dart.
Yeah.
And a pink fluffy one, by the way, which I
Right.
think is even funnier. And he's like, well, this is not going to do anything to me. Then, like, literally all the tranq darts
Right.
hit him in the chest. Thump, 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 thump.
And then it's just like, timber.
Yeah. Down on the ground he goes. And basically, Mom takes care of the rest of them, knocks them all out. Alexei briefly wakes up at the plane and realizes that they're going...
Well, so we think Mom takes care of the rest of them.
We're getting there. You're ruining the surprise.
I know. I love to spoil things.
Asshole.
Anyway, sorry.
So Alexei wakes up briefly in the place where there's a surprise coming. He briefly wakes up from the tranquilizers, sees Melina on the plane, and he's like, where are we going? And she's like, we're going to the Red Room. And why are we going up then? And this is where we realize, bum, bum, bum. The Red Room's basically a helicarrier that goes nowhere.
Right.
Because it looks like it's all, and this is hilarious. If you watch the inside of the engines of this thing, it literally looks like technology before the helicarrier, before Stark fixed everything on the helicarrier.
Oh, so they
stole
actually
it
tweaked
in the
it
Cold
out.
War.
They actually tweaked it out to make it look.
They make it look like the
older.
Russians stole the technology from S.H.I.E.L.D., but it's so dated.
Right.
That's probably why it can't move anywhere.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And I might be reading more into it, but it just the way it looked. Because, when Stark went in there, and the big ones from Winter Soldier all
Right.
had Stark tech with the arc reactors and all that stuff.
Right.
Whereas the one that in Avengers looked more
Right.
turbo fanny. This
Right.
looked like it was a generation before that. So I appreciate the idea that maybe somebody in the special effects room was like, what if they stole this technology in 1992?
Right.
And that's what they're operating off of because they could never develop it themselves.
Right.
So yeah, that was pretty good. But you get that big reveal, and here is the Red Room in the clouds. Got some little cloud generator, keep it going. But as I pointed out, satellites.
Yeah. How are satellites not picking this giant thing up?
Right. How is somebody in the International Space Station flying over wherever they were, which I don't think was Russia, because S.H.I.E.L.D. showed, or not S.H.I.E.L.D., but Ross shows up at the end. So it's somewhere over Europe, I'm guessing.
Right.
Nobody sees this big thing floating with little lights going blink, blink.
Yeah, this giant thing.
Blink,
this
yeah.
giant
Yeah.
thing the size of an aircraft carrier.
Yeah, or bigger.
Or bigger.
It's just, yeah, okay, whatever.
That's fine.
Okay, we can fall off a 5-story building, boom, boom, bim, bang. Nobody sees the floating Red Room. Okay, fine. And that, my friends, I believe takes us to Act 3.
So, Act 3. So, we're at the Red Room. And Melina goes in to meet with Dreykov. And at this point, she's kitted out in her official Black Widow.
Yeah, she's got
outfit.
her Black Widow blackiness stuff on.
She's got her. She's looking very moody with her eyeshadow
Her
and
smoky eyeshadow.
her smoke. That's what I was
She's
looking
got her
for.
smoke going on.
Bit of smoky eyeshadow going on now.
So fancy.
I don't hate it. Anyway, so
She's Danny boy.
So she goes in to meet with Dreykov, and he wants to know how the antidote worked on Yelena, and he immediately is like, cut the brain out. And it's just like, yeesh.
Mm-hmm.
So he wants her to cut Yelena's brain out, literally, and find out what happened and how the antidote, or as we're referring to it here as the red slipper
Magic dust.
With
red
works.
slipper magic dust.
So then we cut to them already drawing lines on Yelena's head as she's strapped down to this examination or a gurney or whatever. Which, by the way, my wife was watching this. She had so many problems with this area. Because anytime we watch anything that has any sort of medical thing, my wife works in the medical industry, and so she's like, come on, she would have been asleep already.
Well, so 2 things. One, every time I see that scene, I just think of the Ewoks that are starting the fire in Return of the Jedi. So when they're drawing her head, all here is okay, I digress. There is a little bit of background dialogue that basically says, leave her awake for the entire procedure.
There is. There, later on, after my wife had a chance to say, why isn't she already knocked out? Then we got that line, and she's like, oh, okay. Whatever.
Which is kind of funny. They're like, so every dude in the Red Room is an asshole.
Pretty much.
That's what it basically amounts to.
Yeah. And then we get sort of a callback to her own line to herself. We hear Yelena say, this is a much less cool way to die. So from there, we cut to what looks like a cell room.
Yep.
Like whatever level on the Red Room is.
The detention level.
Or the detention level.
Where you got to shut down all the garbage
AK-23. So...
Where are you taking this?
So we find Alexei and Natasha, well, Natasha in air quotes, are in adjacent cells from each other with plexiglass walls. Interesting. So, and then quickly we cut back to Melina with Dreykov asking about what to do with Natasha, and Dreykov says to turn her into one of her trained pigs.
Right.
And at this point, Dreykov goes to kind of touch Melina's hair in kind of a sketchy, icky sort of way.
Yeah.
And then Melina stops him, though, and that is where Dreykov realizes this is not the real Melina. And that's when the Melina that we're looking at takes off her fancy Marvel Universe style Mission Impossible mask.
Oh, hey, them digital masks, man.
Masks.
That's that shield technology at work there.
Indeed. And she pulls that off, and hey, it's Natasha face to face with Dreykov.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. So then they cut back to the prison. So then we know that there's been the switch.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when Melina takes off her mask and contacts Yelena with the comm. Well, I should mention that before she even takes the mask off, she types in the code to let them out of their cells.
Right, because she knows what it is.
Right. And Alexei's just like, what is going on? How did you know how to do that? And it was right as he was breaking into the sob story about,
he's having a breakthrough moment.
Yeah, exactly. He's in the middle of this breakthrough moment, and then he gets befuddled because it's not actually Natasha he's talking to when she pulls off the mask and it's just Melina. He's like, well, what's going on? You know, he has no idea what the hell is going on at this point. So Melina, this is another great part in this whole scene. So Melina kind of whispers into Yelena's ear, because she's got an earpiece on. You have a blade in your suit on your right side or whatever. Cut your way out of it.
Right.
And Yelena's like, you couldn't tell me this earlier, or something like that. and then my favorite part is when Alexei starts trying to talk to people over the comm.
He starts trying to do the same sob story to Natasha and Yelena, thinking he's got the earpiece in his head.
Right.
And he doesn't have one. It's like, dumbass, do you have one in your head?
Dude, how do you not know whether or not there's something in your ear?
Right.
So anyway.
A little bit of early onset super soldier dementia there, I'm thinking.
Yeah. So Alexei's like, well, why didn't I get one? And she's like, well, it was never part of the plan. And he's like, well, what is the plan?
And then they flash back to the plan.
We flash back to the whole plan that Natasha activated her tracker to bring Ross to Red Room so they know where Red Room is and they can shut down the whole thing, while Melina would attempt to navigate and ground Red Room in its entirety, bring it to the ground. Yelena would then be in charge of exposing agents to the antidote, yada, 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 Bob's your uncle. So that's the plan.
Right. So
then we cut back to Natasha and Dreykov. And, God, they do a good job right here to place them uncomfortably close together.
Right.
I feel icky.
His breath stinks, doesn't it?
I feel icky every time I watch this scene just because they are so close. This is clearly direction.
Right.
Because it's just
it's not a natural level of engagement.
So they're talking about, Natasha is basically throwing stuff at Dreykov to try and make him see whether or not he feels any guilt whatsoever.
Right.
And he even brings up Antonia, or AKA the Taskmaster.
Which we don't know yet.
But we will
in a minute.
Sorry. So she says, don't you feel bad about your daughter or whatever? And he's like, oh, my daughter? who's projecting now? And then he walks over to Taskmaster and takes the mask off. And then we see Antonia with scars and everything else. And I had to put a chip in the back of her neck. In the back of her neck.
And he sounds indignant about it. Like, I had to do this because of you, Natasha. When you're like, are you sure you wouldn't have done it anyway?
Yeah, because he's such a monster.
He has no regard for females at all.
Or just human life, but especially female human life.
Right.
He just views them as animals that he can just throw away, even worse than animals, really. So at this point, Dreykov then sends Taskmaster off to go kill the others. And Natasha's just like, she pulls out her gun and she's like, well, that was stupid. You just made leave the one thing that was going to stop me from killing you. And he's like, oh, yeah? Give it a shot. And that's when we find out about this pheromone thing.
Oh, yeah, because that whole scene's bad. It's a classic Black Widow fake on a fake on a fake. It's the whole... This asshole is about to give up everything and you're ruining it type of thing.
Right.
Or the whole thing with Loki. So she gets...
Because again, she knows something we don't yet.
Right. But because she's Black Widow.
Right.
So her whole plan, everything, what you come to realize is that everything that she did was intentional. All the fake fear, all the fear was fake, all the goading was fake, all of it was to get to the point where she's at the end of this thing, or at the end of the towards the end of
She's
the film.
trying to manipulate him into doing what she wants him to do.
Which is what she's the best at.
Right. So she's trying to shoot him, knowing well aware that she won't be able to. But anyway, I digress. That tells the viewer, oh, she can't do it because there's this block in her pheromone block that he's emitting, something like that. It's very sciencey.
Anybody that's got this block, if she smells his pheromones,
right,
they have a subconscious implant to keep them from being able to harm him.
Right.
So that was his pre-programming before he could actually just control them with his magic iPad of doom.
Right.
They were basically having to follow their orders on threat of death.
Right.
And he was taking away their ability to take that threat of death away.
Yeah, he needed a fail-safe.
Yeah, exactly.
So then we see Alexei and Melina in the hallway, and in walks Taskmaster. And this is all while Alexei is suddenly feeling his oats, and he's like, I need something to break. And she's like, there you go.
Yeah, break that.
Break that thing. And then he's still talking to her, and then he turns around and Melina's gone already. He's like, all right, well, here we go. So then we cut to see soldiers marching in the hallway, and Yelena is in the air vent above, and she drops down, and she tries to do the drop down pose. Yeah, she's, this is terrible. So then we cut again to Melina, who's trying to work her magic to land the Red Room in some sort of machine room, kind of reminiscent of in the original Star Wars when Obi-Wan is trying to... Must be some kind of drill. Anyway.
To me, it kind of reminded me a little bit of the missile room from Hunt for Red October.
Oh, okay.
Just how cramped it kind of felt as they're moving around. You just want to, careful what you're shooting here, Melina. Things here don't like bullets.
So she's trying to shut the engines down or land it, and then Dreykov sees the whole thing on security footage with his iPad of doom.
Right.
And so he essentially locks her in that room and shuts down all the controls so she can't do anything. And then we're back to, that's sort of the transition to get back to Dreykov's office, where Natasha's just talking shit because she knows it's the one thing he can't do anything about.
Right.
And she's trying to piss him off so that he'll hit her and break her nose and sever the nerve.
Right.
So in the meantime, he opens this drawer on his desk to reveal this tech that lights up the screen and shows where all the global agents are, which is kind of part of her whole plan. That's kind of Natasha's whole plan, so she can find out where all these...
She needs to get him monologuing.
Right, exactly. So he can turn into the classic villain that gives away the rest of the plan so she can foil it.
Okay. Pretty much.
And then we get some intercutting in this area where we see Yelena finds the antidote, and then Melina is finding a way out of the control room through an air vent, and then Alexei is fighting Taskmaster.
Right.
And then we're back to Natasha and Dreykov, where he's revealing his master plan, and he operates it all from his desk with his little console.
And his magic ring.
His magic ring.
Which, by the way, did not have an octopus on it. I double checked
No octopus.
just to make sure. Of course, an octopus in a Marvel movie means something else now that I'm thinking about it. Hail Hydra.
So he's still monologuing, talking about how girls are just this disposable resource that there's an endless supply of. And Natasha's kind of, still traumatized by what he's talking about, but she kind of shuts it down in herself.
Right.
And then turns around and has got that wry smile on her face like, well, I'm going to shut you down right now, motherfucker.
Yeah, it's the whole, so Banner, that's your move. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you for your cooperation.
Right. And Dreykov's like, I don't know why you're smiling or whatever. And that's when we get this cut to a flashback of Melina describing how to break the pheromonal lock, was essentially severing the nerve at the top of your nose.
Right. Explains the whole thing.
So then we cut back into scene, and Natasha then brutally breaks her own nose.
Well, but she, on top of it, she taunts him. Like, you just couldn't get the job done.
Yeah.
And then breaks her nose like, you couldn't even hit me hard enough to do the job, you worthless sack of shit.
Yeah. You've gotten really weak, man.
Yeah.
Couldn't even break my nose?
And then breaks her own damn nose.
And then immediately that breaks the pheromonal lock, and then she immediately punches Dreykov and sends him to the floor. Then we cut to Melina, who then takes out one of the main engines completely.
Yeah. Oh, that'll get it down on the ground.
And then she does the little grappling hook, her way upwards as this engine is just literally falling to pieces below her and everyone's falling. It's a bad green screen moment for me, to be honest, where Yelena has already zip-lined upwards to this other level, and she's walking and she's talking on her comm to Yelena.
Oh, yeah.
And she's like, slight change of plans. We're going to do a controlled crash landing.
Right. Well, the whole thing looks so fake. She was obviously just walking on a treadmill or something.
Yeah.
Because she's very straight backed and like
and all
Scooby-Doo walking.
Yeah. It's not great.
No. Probably the worst CGI scene that's in the whole movie, I would say.
Yeah. We then see Yelena reach the Widow's training area, but they're all gone. So she grabs some kind of grenade thing and wraps the red vials around it, which almost seems like, how did she know to do that already?
What kind of low yield grenade are you going to want to attach that to?
It's very extremely low yield.
Yeah, because it seems like it was just powerful enough to break everything, but not
unless
disperse it like an explosive.
Right. I mean, unless it's like one of those ninja distraction bombs that you throw on the ground that just puff a smoke or something. I don't know. Anyway.
It did the job.
It did. Very well. And she was a widow for a very long time, so she probably knows what all those things do. So
you would think.
One would think. So Melina then helps out Alexei with Taskmaster, sending her into a cell so they can escape, as the Red Room is now sinking quite a bit. Like, everything is starting to shake and shimmy, and it's all bad. So just as Natasha's really beginning to kick Dreykov's ass, the widows arrive and he's able to escape, and she has to try and fight them off. And eventually, now I will say she kicked a lot of their asses for a good long while. She held them off for quite a while. It's a pretty good fight scene, actually. But eventually there's too many of them, and man, just as they're starting to really beat the shit out of her.
Yeah, they're going hardcore.
Yeah, they're going to town on her. And then thankfully, obviously Yelena is there to drop the antidote, throws that thing in the air and sets it off. However it works, however this low yield explosive works.
Maybe it's dial a yield.
Right. So she throws that thing into the room and it hits all the widows and they all come out of it.
All sparkly like vampires from Twilight.
Exactly. So at this point, none of them know what to do. All the widows are just sort of like, well, what do we do now? And she's like, well, go live your lives. Like, save yourselves.
Yeah, you're
Get out of
free.
here. You're free. Get out of here. In the meantime, Natasha is trying to save the identities of all the embedded widows all over the world. We've got a list. We're waiting. Once again, we're waiting for it to download.
Right.
We're using that download progress bar as a way to drive up tension. Ugh. All the devices. I could make a spy movie at this point, I think.
Anybody can.
And then she fixes her nose, which is kind of brutal. Ooh.
That is pretty great, though.
And she sets it
because
back.
they have a prosthetic on her face to make her nose look broken. When you see her in profile, she's got the big
big
bump on it. Yeah. So it's funny that she fixes it.
Yeah. So after the list is finished saving on the disk, she grabs that plus a couple of conveniently placed unbroken vials on the floor.
Uh-huh.
And then she makes a run for it. And this is the part that I like to call Marvel time. We are now officially entering Marvel time in this movie, because this is when everything, it's just all runny, jumpy, slow motion-y, lots of CGI. I mean, it might even qualify... Who as fuck? Especially this first moment here. Everything is going kablooey, right? So she shoots out these windows and jumps out the window, just kind of a Hail Mary jump out the window.
Sure.
She has no idea what's out there, but she turns around in midair, grabs some sort of hand railing, and the whole thing that the hand railing is connected to bends down and sort of breaks her fall as she's swinging down on it. Convenient. But anyway, it finally stops. And then, of course, there's a lower level of Red Room that is open now, exposed, and she just sort of video gamey sort of swings back into. So neat. So anyway, everything is going to crap. But we see a plane full of widows taking off, and then we see Melina and Alexei pile into a ship. And for a moment, they're trying to find the girls. But then at that point, the entire strip that the airplane is on falls apart. And Melina has to then take the plane out of a nosedive because it's already falling through the air at that point. And just when it couldn't get harder, then there's some sort of paratrooper lands on the plane.
Yep.
And Alexei grabs a shield and chucks it at him. But then... It hits the guy, but then the guy hits the back fin of the...
Which, come on.
Is that guy really going to knock the entire tail fin?
Exactly. I watch that and I'm just like, every time I see this is fucking ridiculous.
So it sends the plane into a flat spin. Then we cut back to Natasha, who's getting clobbered as she's trying to make her way down this hallway. There's like stuff falling from the ceiling. And then finally the floor gives way and she lands on the prison floor. And then she's staring face to face with Taskmaster, who's still behind the wall.
Right.
And, she knows she's got this like torn, she's torn about what to do, but she knows that she has to free Taskmaster because of how all the guilt or whatever.
Yeah, all that pent up guilt from thinking she killed her in the first place.
Right. So she frees her, knowing that she's going to come after her. And just as Taskmaster is trying to reach out and grab Natasha, the entire hallway essentially snaps in two. And then Natasha's now sliding down towards open air. And she whips out some handy dandy... Man, this is like a magic backpack she's got. Mm-hmm. It's got everything in it.
Oh, absolutely.
This backpack has everything.
This backpack has everything.
It's got swords, commas, nunchucks, you name it. Anyway, so she pulls out a pair of commas. Had to look that up, kids. K-A-M-A. Anyway, ninja skills.
That's right.
So she uses these commas to like stop her from falling...
A la Tomb Raider, I have to point out.
A la Tomb Raider, completely out of the hallway. So she's hanging on the edge, and she looks on at this other platform where we see Dreykov and his soldiers hopping on board a ship with Yelena sort of running after. And that's when the entire wing that Natasha is hanging onto continues to break from the spine of Red Room itself and sort of angles its way towards the platform where all this is going. So she's able to kind of jump off and join the action. In the meantime, we see Yelena. Okay, so this is now number 3 wrist grappling hook thing, or number 4? I can't remember. But Yelena uses her grappling thing on her wrist to get on top of Dreykov's plane and puts one of those big shocky staff, whatever those things are that we see a number of times in this movie, those staffs that come apart in the middle and then you can...
Eskrima.
That thing.
Yep.
She sticks that thing into one of the engines and then kaboom!
And she goes, fwee!
She goes, fwee! So she's sent flying away. Then the plane, because of this, the plane falls off the platform and completely explodes, killing Dreykov once and for all.
Thank goodness.
Although we never see a body,
well,
technically.
it's because it gets turned to ashes. But
That's
we do
true.
see his glasses
We
go
do see
flying.
his glasses. So then Natasha grabs a conveniently placed parachute, which just happens to be right there on the
I
ground.
know, that was kind of ridiculous. It was a little gratuitous.
She grabs the parachute, jumps overboard after Yelena, and she manages to catch up and in midair attaches the parachute to Yelena because that's easy.
Cause love.
And they pop the chute and they're sort of floating together. But as they're floating there, Natasha can see Taskmaster diving down towards them both.
Right. No doubt with a parachute in the back of that magic backpack of hers.
That's right. So Natasha lets go of Yelena, and now we're headed to true Marvelville right now. They both land, Taskmaster and Natasha land on this random falling piece of what looks like almost like a solar panel.
It did look like a solar panel.
So, and they both somehow managed to stop themselves briefly on this falling piece of debris.
To duke it out.
And they become entwined, and then they're just falling together, entwined, and then Taskmaster's parachute pops open just before they hit the ground, and then they both go rolling to different directions, and then finally, we're on the ground now. I do like this moment just before they start fighting again, where Natasha's like, okay, here we go. She's sort of like...
She got that road-weary Indiana Jones moment.
Very much. And then, so they start fighting. Natasha manages to get away the sword.
Yes.
And then somehow or another, she kind of climbs on the back of Taskmaster and hits the button on her wrist that pops open her mask or her big helmet or whatever. And then she basically smashes a vial of the antidote. It's somehow or another. It's a little blurry at this point.
Yeah.
But smashes the antidote, and the little red sprinkly, red ruby slipper, pixie dust antidote falls all over Antonia.
And she's back to her own self again.
So, and I did like this little line that they gave her to say as she's laying there. She says, "Is he gone?" So it's almost like, and this whole time too, Natasha is apologizing. She's so concerned that Antonia blames her.
Right.
But it's clear who she really blames.
Right.
Which makes a lot of sense and which sort of clears the air and all that sort of thing. Kind of a nice little moment there. I did sort of like the way they did that. So then we kind of get some emotional moments here where after sort of talking to Antonia about that, she goes over to her not sister, but kind of sister and more really a sister now.
Right.
She's sort of hugging her sister and making sure she's okay. And she says it was real for me too, that kind of thing. And then they find Melina and Alexei and they all sort of come to some sort of, I don't know, it's just kind of a nice moment where, obviously Natasha and Yelena don't have quite the same bond with Melina and Alexei that they do with each other.
Right.
But there's still sort of this acknowledgement that they kind of made each other's lives a little bit nicer for, even if it was only for 3 years.
Right.
So at this point we see S.H.I.E.L.D. on their way towards all this wreckage. And everybody wants Natasha to come with them, but Natasha's like, nah, don't worry about it. I got this. So she gives Yelena the antidote for Melina to replicate. And then the three of them get on the ship with all these freed widows. So they take off, and we never really see how Natasha evades S.H.I.E.L.D. Although is that a Marvel? Is that how it's sort of like where the plot of a different Marvel movie takes over? Because when we see her next, her hair's dyed blonde, and she's got a bob cut.
Yeah, so basically she has to go free Clint and Ant-Man and the Falcon from the raft.
Okay.
That you see in Civil War where they get put at the end.
Okay.
So that's basically her taking that Quinjet that Rick appropriates to go rescue them.
Okay, but that's before that. So she must have, at this point, right after Red Room crashes, she must have been just able to evade them somehow.
Yeah, because she's Black Widow.
It cuts to 2 weeks later, and we see this motorcycle rolling through a wooded area, and it's Natasha sporting a brand new blonde bob haircut.
Right. And you forgot, that Yelena gave her the cool vest.
Oh, that's right. She's now wearing...
I knew you wanted my vest because
that's right.
So many pockets.
She's now wearing the cool new vest.
With her cool new blonde hair.
And she meets back up with Rick, who's managed to procure a swanky-ass new Avengers
Quinjet.
style. A Quinjet.
See what I can do when you give me some time?
There we go. Yeah, see? So we get this great little exchange where she goes, "You've always been a really good friend to me." And he goes, what every man wants to hear. Oh, you've been put in the friend zone, buddy.
That's right. Sorry, Rick.
You're in the friend zone.
Sorry, Rick.
Anyway, she basically says she's about to go break one set of family members out of prison and then heads off in her shiny new jet.
That's right.
And then it just fades to the fireflies.
Right.
And that's the end of the movie, or the proper
end of the movie. It's a Marvel movie, so it's not over.
Of course, there's always a post-credit scene, which happens after Avengers Endgame, after Natasha has died, and we see Yelena and her dog, Fanny.
Right.
Nice name there, named after Natasha's alias. Fanny Longbottom.
Mm-hmm.
They get out of a truck in a wooded sort of area, and she goes and tends to Natasha's grave. And, she just has an emotional moment there, shedding a tear. And she does that little whistle thing that they do to each other.
Yeah, we didn't really go into that, but they have this little code of the...
Honestly, I'm not a huge fan of it because it reminds me too much of Hunger Games.
It did have that vibe to it, but it's a nice little throughput through the whole movie.
Yeah, it's like a little sisterly thing. So she's standing there looking at the grave, and suddenly we hear this like loud, obnoxious nose blowing. And we look over and we see that it's Valentina, who's director of the CIA in the Marvel Universe, who is basically Yelena's boss now. I forget what Yelena says that sort of clues in the listeners that she now works for the CIA, essentially.
Right.
But Valentina shows Yelena a picture of her next target, and she says something like, I thought you might want to, get revenge for somebody who's responsible for your sister's death. And of course, it's a picture of Hawkeye.
Right.
Which, of course, isn't really true, but
this is basically a teaser into the Hawkeye TV show on Disney Plus.
Exactly.
Which, by the way, if you liked her performance in this and you haven't watched that, watch it, because she and Haley Steinfeld own this whole thing. She's full on Yelena all the way through. But the repartee that she has with Haley in this thing is amazing.
Yeah.
Would have been more amazing if it was the other Haley, but probably wouldn't have fit very well in the
probably not
storyline with Infinity Stones and all.
Yeah. So that's it. That is the end of Black Widow.
That is the end of Black Widow, because there was not a after credit scene.
Indeed. But for me, the more times I watch this movie, the more I like it. The more I feel like if this movie had been released when it had been supposed to be released, it would have been huge, I think. I think it's a really solid spy movie. I mean, as a Marvel movie, it might not necessarily hold up. I don't know what Marvel fans want, but
it did for me. I think it was a good blend of the kind of movie that people can go see and not give a shit. I mean, literally, you could watch this movie and not give two shits about what's happening in Marvel world.
Yeah.
And it's still a good spy movie all by itself.
Exactly.
It's a little over the top at the end, like you pointed out, but
yeah,
by and large, it's more or less just a modern interpretation of a James Bond movie. Segue.
Yes, Jason.
So, I have points.
Jason has points, ladies and gentlemen.
That this movie is a modern James Bond movie. I'm going to tell you all those points now. Feel free to rebuke, or as you will, through the normal communication channels.
Yes.
But here we go.
CIC.drop@gmail.com.
That's the one. Here we go. Pre-title sequence? Check. Title sequence that tells a story while a woman sings slowly in the background? Check. Disavowed spy on the run? Okay, granted. More Mission Impossible, but we have a couple of Bonds on the runs.
Rogues.
Rogues, exactly. Really bad James Bond woman name? Fanny Longbottom, anyone? Check. Motorcycle chase? Check.
Although that's quite a bit Mission Impossible-y too.
It is, but there are been a lot more motorcycle chases in the more recent Bond films than you've seen in the past.
Skyfall, anyone?
Ruff. Evil megalomaniac bent on world domination with an army of hot assassin women.
There you go.
Check.
Very much check.
Does he have a hidden lair that's ridiculously technically impossible? Check. Does he have a henchman with some strange powers and a deformity on their face or something? Check. Are they wearing a really creepy, weird pinky ring? Check. Does he go off on an evil monologue which reveals the entire plan to the person in charge, or the good hero of the story, so that they can actually foil those plans? Check.
All of the things.
All of the things.
And wrist grappling guns.
Wrist grappling guns, gadgets galore. Bond actually turns the evil villain henchman with the deformity into a good guy at the end.
Rappelling down a...
Which, by the way, Moonraker connection. Because doesn't Jaws become a good guy at the end?
He does.
See?
He sure does.
See?
It's because he finds love. Anyway.
So does that mean that Dreykov is actually the Hugo Drax analog in this story?
Yeah.
Anyway, I think when you look at the facts, as I have clearly lined them up, Your Honor, you will see that my client is clearly a James Bond movie in disguise.
That's right.
And
with a much, much more attractive main
correct
character.
Correct. So I rest my case.
I have no objections, Your Honor. I completely agree. I still want a Black Widow story where she's on the run the entire time, where it's a little bit more grounded. There's not a giant space station in the, or what are those things called? Hover, whatever.
A helicarrier that's not a helicarrier.
It's a helicarrier that's not a helicarrier. I don't need all that. I want all the stuff right before all that.
Yeah.
I even like the Prison Breakout. I think the Prison Breakout's super fun.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a Marvel movie. So
it is a Marvel movie. So I mean, it's fun. It's still fun.
Oh, yeah.
I just, the spy fan in me wants that.
More spy-y.
I want that gritty spy thing.
Absolutely.
And I feel like Scarlett Johansson did such a great job as Black Widow that I want to see her do that. And it's kind of unfortunate that they've essentially killed her off. And
well,
unless they do some multiverse or whatever, something. I don't know.
Black Widow's dead. I'm pretty sure Scarlett Johansson's career with Disney Studios or Marvel Studios is dead anyway.
Right.
So,
but I wouldn't object to a Yelena taking over the mantle. Just saying.
It's gonna happen, folks.
But what are your thoughts on the movie, listeners?
Yeah, listeners.
Yes.
Jeez.
Tell
us what you think.
Tell us what you think. Please. We are always looking for listener interaction. Or just tell us how you like the podcast or what you want to hear us review in our insane, inane, but really fun and kind of adorable way.
We are very kind of fun and adorable, but stupid and irrelevant at the same time. But you know what? Hey, tell us things you don't like too. It doesn't all have to be roses and sunshine.
That's
we
right.
really do want your feedback. We really want to make this show for you guys. Because you can clearly tell we're doing it for us.
Right.
As it is. We need to be more inclusive. We want y'all in here. We want your feedback.
That's right. If we're mispronouncing Bon Mott.
Well, we've already got somebody to handle that now.
We've got somebody to handle that. But if there's something else like that, please, we're going to put it on the air, man. But our email is cicdeaddrop@gmail.com. On Instagram, we are Central Intelligence Cinema, separated by underscores. And on Twitter, we are @CIC SpyPod. Also, I might mention that we are on Facebook as well. So just search for Central Intelligence Cinema, and you'll find our shiny, happy logo.
Like us and follow us.
Indeed. And if you do enjoy the podcast, we would love it if you would choose to help us out by giving us a glowing 5-star review from either Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast from, so that our show gets seen a little faster when people search for content like this. When they want to hear some silly spy shit, they find us.
Yay!
Yay! But with that, I'm Ben.
And I'm Jason.
And the CIC will return with more missions, more martinis,
and more mayhem.